And no one makes me feel like you do. And no one sets my body on fire. And no one gives me shivers like you. Oh, no one does it better. How I try to sleep, but you're deep in my mind. Got a hold of me. When I'm awake, I'm all blind. You and your magic, like infinite power. God knows I try to resist, but you're pulling me closer. Oh, I gotta stay away, but you won't let me. And no one makes me feel like you do. And no one sets my body on fire. And no one gives me shivers like you. Oh, no one does it better.
Starry-eyed. last week in Europe on the Sunday, so we got to see at least something that made sense. And when we kind of do platinum or rookie division get good, we never really know what's going to happen. But what we can tell you is Team Luma are 2-0 and Team Haven are 1-1. So the starting theory is that Luma are going to be the team to beat here. However, Team Haven and Luma have never faced before, as far as I'm aware. So maybe Team Haven have a unique style that can take down Luma.
Yeah, I definitely see what you mean, especially because Team Haven, they're going to be looking like they really want to get a win here today, especially because they kind of want to even things up, especially when Luma's rocking with the 2-0. So I think you kind of want to knock them down a peg and try to have it out. But I definitely agree with your sentiment when it comes to, like, we never know how the rookie division works solely because we're in a lower elo, so things work a lot different.
It's going to be interesting. I would be interested to know. Neither of these teams kind of have this in their information, whether they have a coach or not, who, if their manager is a player or an actual manager who get the scrum times, etc. And that's their actual role. That's what they like to do, is be a manager. Because I think that sort of setup helps teams, and that's why you actually see it higher up the divisions, Tier 3, Tier 2.5, Contenders Trials, and top tier Open Division. You will see teams have a manager, a head coach, sometimes even like a little analyst. But yeah, I'm not sure what these teams have, what resources are available to them. But let's have a look at their rosters and see who we will be seeing today.
Honestly, we're rocking with, I would say, a pretty decent roster. This just seems to be their team's own bread and butter. Not really any substitutions from what I'm catching in my eye, but honestly, these players are at least looking like they at least want to run basically typical Brawl. At least that's what we're being given kind of the information ones.
Yeah, so it's both these teams like Ryan Diva is their tagline, so let's keep an eye on, let's say, the main tag duel between Kevin Bacon and Jay the Average. We do not know if that's the actual Kevin Bacon. I would imagine it's not, to be honest, but let's pretend it is, because that's great fun. I would love to imagine Kevin Bacon plays in a Platinum Overwatch team with a player called Milkers, because I think that would be hilarious.
Oh, that would be absolutely insane. My goodness, the amount of, like, jokes you could probably tell from that and continuing on would be absolutely fun. Hilarious. But still, I think it's going to be kind of an interesting, especially if these lineups continue to go out. I like to say that teams that stick with the same lineup have better synergy rather than you're subbing in a specialist for one specific reason.
Yeah, I feel like you could have specialists for, like, maps like Junkertown, at sub-control maps, maybe, but, like, other than that, I'm not too sure. I don't really like specialists in the lower echelons of the game. I feel like in Tier 1 and Overwatch League, maybe even Contenders, it's fine, but lower than that, you need all the synergy you can get.
I definitely agree. So when rocking out on Lijiang Tower, this is very much a synergy-based map, especially when you're walking out to this first point, because it's reliant on the teleporters, as you see both of these teams wanting to kind of play on.
Yes, both these teams are going to run the Symmetra, which means both of these teams want to get to the point as fast as possible and control some space. I do like Luma's composition a little bit more with the May, because if they do get there first, they've got, of course, that Ice Wall, which is going to threaten Team Haven as they try to walk into Luma.
Yeah, although Rob is playing onto the Dave so they can kind of put in more damage, as we see Kevin Bacon may not be kind of the one we thought, but is already going out as the Immortalities aren't going to be there. Team Haven now is going to be struggling to kind of stay on this point. They've lost their Reinhardt very early on. It's really just a battle of Symmetras to see who gets more value, but it's a pretty messy fight, although it does seem like the DPS on the side of Team Haven are going to clean it up, as we see the teleporter of Kevin Bacon come back and then get punished for it.
You know what's interesting? Kevin Bacon died so early, yet Jay the Average has less ult charge. So it looks like Team Haven put a lot more resources into their Symmetra that fight. That's why that Photon Barrier is online. Additionally, their rotation was faster. They got to the point quicker, which was helpful. Milker's just going to stay on the sim here. I wonder if they're going to TP through that window again. Yeah, they are.
It looks more like a bait. They bring it out, they throw their teleporters behind, and it looks like they really just want to try and do a distraction. But the sim wall is absolutely massive because it lets them not only take out Kevin Bacon, but they get full movement to just walk on Luma. They do want to kind of wait to use that Maywell, and they managed to get out Average. That Shatter is built, though, so they can't really move in like they wanted to, but it's still kind of a reset.
Yeah, to be fair though, Luma, that they only really lost 20% on the point in there, and they're going to have a photon barrier of their own to set this up and actually start off this team fight. They have an Ant Matrix as well. I expect both teams to use their Ant Matrix early, but that photon barrier that Milkers has is going to be critical.
Well, that's an amazing Mei wall, but the counter is there to kind of slow it down. They do have the sim wall on the side of Luma just to be able to move forward, but they don't seem to have the pressure. Although that amazing freeze and pressure manages to shut them down. Sure, the window may be combined with the high noon, but it's just not enough. Even with the Blizzard now being popped out, the rest of Team Haven, they don't really have any sort of ability to survive, especially with that sound barrier not being invested.
I'm a little bit concerned at why Luma dropped Blizzard. I think realistically, Team Haven were going to lose that team fight, so they'll be happy to get the Blizzard out. And now they've got their photon barrier back online. The trend we've seen so far is, yeah, photon barrier, you win the team fight. Both teams have soaring barrier, so maybe watch the Lucios in particular, what value they can get from that critical support ultimate.
Oh, they tried their hardest to try to make a teleporter strategy, but they lose their Reinhardt in the midst of it. And so now, as you see, Kevin Bacon wants to move in, has his Shatter, but is looking pretty confident to not use it. Although they do get that reset, they may just want to back up a tiny bit. They're playing a really aggressive, and Kevin's so low.
I think they need to play aggressive, because if we get a fight on the point, Team Haven are able to get that photon barrier off before Luma could build theirs, then realistically Team Haven will win that team fight. So I think they do need to play closer up, or at least get that photon barrier online for Milkers.
Yeah, it seems that they just want to play a teleporter onto the point, using that window kind of as a strategy, but their teleporter gets broken, so it's just more of a setup type of strategy. Although there is a teleporter behind them that Kevin Bacon can take to use that Shatter. They have that counter wall up, and it looks like they're going to be able to hit it. It's kind of a struggle on the side of Team Haven, as they are being hit from every angle, and the true MVP is going to be Milker's turrets as they kind of melt them down.
Yeah, okay, so both Lucios didn't even have to drop the sound barrier there. That was a pretty convincing fight from Luma. Both photon barriers gone as well. The advantage that Team Haven have here is the amplification matrix. So at the start of the team fight, they're going to have a lot more damage, and that might force Froppy's sound barrier out early. So watch the Lucios and watch the amp matrix early on from Yogurt.
Yeah, now they have a curious way of how they want to move in. They're using that window kind of really early on and very far back, and the sound barrier as a form of aggression combined with the Shatter that gets blocked, and the high noon that basically shoots into an immortality. Luma are perfectly fine. They're now using their own sound barrier to play aggressively. Main tanks are going to be traded out. However, it looks like Average is going to be the one mostly punished, and the Blizzard popped out so perfectly, cashiering the entirety of Team Haven. Just seems though Big's mistakes are going to be counting on them, as they're just not going to be able to finish out, and Luma are going to take the first point of Lijiang Tower.
Yeah, I think that's what I expected. Luma kind of seemed to be the better team. They're 2-0 so far. Team Haven got a really good start. They really did punish Kevin Bacon on the Reinhardt early on, and that would give them a really good advantage, particularly at the start of the Lijiang Night Market. But realistically, Luma were just better in their ultimates later on. Team Haven in that last team fight, they had the ultimate advantage, but they didn't really get enough out of the amplification matrix. Maybe it was too early, maybe the team didn't know how to get that value out of that critical ultimate advantage that they had. Anyways, heading on to Control Center, this is going to be a lot more brawly. Yeah, Night Market we saw brawl compositions, but we also didn't see the teams brawling that often. We saw a lot of players die on approach. This is just going to be a full throttle brawl, probably in just in that control room next to the point.
I'm more worried to see how Luma try to do this. They are heavily reliant on that Mei wall to try to make something happen, especially with Team Haven having that Junkrat. They put in so much pressure. Just look, as they split off the Reinhardt, they're able to start walking in. They get the immortality out early, and that Mei wall does block out Team Haven from their resources. So as you see, Average is going to be going down. They just didn't have anyone to kind of peel in. So the rest of the team, they kind of want to play more stacked together, especially if they want to play against this type of composition.
I'm gonna be honest, I think this Luma team were pretty poor in the start of the last round, but they looked a lot more confident there. I think that win on Night Market, just that round win, has given them a lot more confidence. They played really aggressive there, their target focus was pretty good for a team in the rookie division. And now, realistically, Haven don't have many options. They're going to rotate around the right-hand side and try and get some Junkrat spam damage and build up that Riptide, because that's the only ultimate they can really get online besides that sound barrier.
Yeah, I do love the fact that I Love Osu is going to be coming up on the Riptide. That's what you're looking for, especially how they rotate against this window. They really don't have to worry about much. Unfortunately, though, their Junkrat gets caught out. They're going into this fight as a 5v6 and not even playing on their own site to kind of reliably get their own DPS back. They're in a confusing state where they're trying to find some room, but look at that, Average is going to take an immense amount of poke. And now this Brawl comes in. At least you're going to be able to regroup with your Junkrat.
Yeah, so you're gonna have the Riptire for the next fight. That's gonna be your win condition, really. Because that's the only real ultimate you have different to your opponent. Oh, you got your Diva staggered as well. This is not good for Pelora. She is gonna be staggered for an extremely long time. This means that they're not gonna have the mech. They're just not gonna have anything. They're not gonna be able to make a team fight happen. Right, 56% already. It's only gonna be 70% before we get the next team fight. Pelora's gonna swap over back onto the Diva, goes to Orisa, and then now resets their ult charge as well. I think the things for both teams have the sound barrier, but look at Luma. They've got the Blizzard as well.
Yeah, they're even forced to use this sound barrier very early on while the bomb is placed to where they are. And it just seems Team Haven just don't have either the resources or ability to kind of stay alive when these fights are going very early.
Yeah, they only need to use 2 ultimates. That's a very cheap team fight win, right? Usually like 3 ultimates is like what you need for a conclusive team fight win. Only 2 that are used from Luma. They keep their sound barrier as well. They have an amp matrix early on. Even though Team Haven have that Junkrat Riptire, they haven't been able to use it so far. They've had it for 3 fights. They haven't been able to get it off. This is looking really bad for Haven. Yeah,
I do like to see this Shatter come out. You managed to find out the main, but the sound barrier is absolutely massive. Manages to peel in. The Riptire is the one that wants to kind of make it uneven, and it seems that Osu is finally able to get it out. Sure, that window's there for the side of the Symmetra, but you're not paying attention to the Junkrat who's running inside of you, making up that space. And now Team Haven, they finally managed to win this out, but that cost every ultimate.
Yeah, everything's gone. Everything's gone for both teams, apart from Milo's Amp Matrix. Amp Matrix would have been really awesome for them early in the team fight, but I believe they got Earth Shattered by Jay the Average, so that wasn't able to come on. So that, yeah, the Earth Shattered didn't get a kill or whatever, but that also meant that Milo could not use the Amp Matrix, but it also means that they have the Amp Matrix for the next fight. And actually, I think they're putting everything into that ultimate. I think they've all tracked well here. They're going to go onto the Sigma here, which means more spam damage through the Amp Matrix, and you said more poke potential, because Sigma, of course, does more damage per 4 than Diva does.
Gotta say, I love how they're doing. Average is stuck out. Their shield is broken. They can't really defend themselves, and the Immortality is keeping up Kevin Bacon for as much as possible. Although that Shatter does get blocked, it seems Team Haven are finally going to get hit with that pressure. It's somewhat even as both main tanks are gone, but this is why you play that Sigma. Just look as they're able to move forward. Although I love Osu is kind of there, and they do have the sound barrier, but it's mattering if they can finish people off. An amazing Sleep Dark may help take out Milo, but they're not being able to finish it off. Luma still have the advantage very much in this fight, but the Reinhardt is going to be coming back, or more or less the Wrecking Ball on the side of Team Haven. It is one long stalled fight, but honestly, it does seem like Luma are being able to finish things out. They've even built up the Greater Flux off of this one fight. That's all they need as they're being able to pick out the squish. That Junkrat's dangerously won, and the only person who's going to be able to defend on the point is a Diva who's coming on. However, there's just not much left. Luma has built up 3 ultimates. They can just hit Q and basically finish this off, but they look like they want to be having a chip old time as they use that high noon to look for anyone trying to just contest on this point. Using the Blizzard and that high noon just gets shut down before anything can happen, and even the Wrecking Ball who wants to be able to come and say, hi, don't worry, I got this. It's just not going to be able to do much. There are just so many ultimates and sustain on the side of Luma to where they finish this before anyone can continue to touch, as we see Luma finish things out on Lijiang Tower.
Yeah, Lijiang Tower finished up. Control Center has been finished 2-0 for Team Luma. But let's talk about what happened there in that last team fight, because that Sigma swap from Paper Nev was awesome. I really like that swap, because they know they've all tracked extremely well there. They're going to have a massive poke advantage in the next team fight. What hero is extremely good at poking as an off-tank? Sigma. They get that pick spot on, right? And then they actually manage to build that Gravitic Flux, and that's what wins them the team fight right at the end. Not even the actual Flux, but the fact that they built a Gravitic Flux in one team fight on Sigma means that they were the difference maker in that team fight. Whereas Pelora, on the other side of things, because of that unfortunate stagger, wasn't able to get ultimate off the entire round of Control Center. So, no ultimates at all from one off-tank. One ultimate in one team fight for the other. Little bit of a difference in the last team fight. Not much that poor Laura could do about it, but that's exactly what happened there.
Yeah, I think that's kind of a bigger issue that Team Haven are going to be struggling on continuing forward, because they seem to take these fights very sloppily. They're not either listening to whoever's shot calling, or they're basically making a very rookie mistake, and they see a target, they go after it, but there's 6 targets, so each person's going after a different target, and that's why we see them more often than not dying so quickly.
Yeah, so let's actually kind of focus on where the differences are in this team. So I kind of mentioned maybe in that last round there was a little bit of an off-tank difference, just value-wise, not necessarily player-wise or or how good the players are, or what heroes they were playing. It's just what value is there, right? Pay-per-view got more value out of the offset wrong. But where are the other differences? Because obviously that's not the only thing that's going on here. I think Luma as a team have better focus fire. I think their fight planning seems to be a lot better. And in the rookie division, that sort of thing matters a lot, right? When these players aren't as mechanically skilled, they aren't as intelligent. That's not an offensive comment. That's just where they are right now at their Overwatch careers. They want to go further forward. They've got to develop those skills, and Luma seem to be developing those skills a little bit better than what Team Haven is. They seem to have a better game later at GL. I think Floppy was pretty good that round. Their sound barriers are pretty solid, and realistically, I thought they sent the tempo a lot better than Team Haven's main support in Yogurt. So, mid support was Homahang on Team Haven. So, just to bring things back there, I was quite impressed with Luma's focus fire and overall team fight planning, because I think it's a lot better than Team Haven's is.
Yeah, I definitely have to agree. Normally, I'm more confused to see a Mei out specifically on those servers, or see Mei be played so consistently. But honestly, I've got to say it's so powerful right now, especially with Team Haven not being able to pay attention, because they're just being able to wall off average, and that's every team fight win in one move.
Yeah, Fossey played really well on the Mei. Usually you'll see Symmetra Junkrat on that point, something similar to what Team Haven were running. It's kind of like the ultimate scrim comp. It's not something you really want to run in matches, because it isn't the best composition, it's just the easiest composition to play there. Junkrat could get a lot of value spamming through those different chokes. Did we see that value from Alavoso? Yes, in the team fight that they won on point, but other than that, probably not. So I think the Mei did get a lot more value than Junkrat then.
Yeah, so honestly, I think when moving into our next map, which is going to be more specifically a hybrid, we are going to be rocking down onto Nimbani, and I think this is going to be kind of a more focused map to where we get to see the true potentials of these teams, and honestly, I think this is where Luma can kind of make it or break it for me. I definitely think on Lijiang Tower, they looked extremely well, but when it comes to focus fire, paying attention to execution, Nimbani is all about it.
Well, what's really interesting is we have a loser's pick format here in our first of three. Team Haven have selected this map. Obviously, Team Haven kind of lost some more brawl-centric points of Lijiang Tower with Night Market and Control Center. Both teams were kind of running brawl-centric compositions, which means now that we're going to a more dive-based map, a more open-based map where you can play poke comps or dive comps, you're not really going to be running Brawl here, really. So obviously they don't fancy that Brawl matchup against Luma. They think they're just better at it. So we're going to Nimbani. I like this map pick. And what's going to be interesting now is to see that Luma has picked to defend first. I personally love it when teams defend first, and especially when they play compositions like this on defense. Nimbani, slower paced dive compositions are brilliant, where you're kind of setting up for nano boosts onto your Winston, or rallies from your brigades so your tracer can go more aggressive, and also you can set up for duplicates with Echo. If you play a slower placed dive composition here on the Nimbani defense, you're always going to be in a pretty good spot.
Yeah, though, while we see kind of, it's going to be focused on a divey dive, or a divey goth dive, shadow dive, whatever you really want to call it, rush, whatever, I'm really interested to see how this Sombra works, because Sombra is a very much make it or break it character, and if you're not building up consistent EMPs or hacking people, then that's really the break it moment.
What's really interesting here is Haven are on rush comp. I actually want them to play slower than Luma. Really? Right? I'm a little bit concerned, because if they go hyper aggressive, Yogurt on the Moira is either going to get isolated, or that Sombra isn't going to get value. I think they should be more patient, try and bait out an engagement from, say, Kevin Bacon, maybe get a hack off. And this rush composition only needs to play fast when the fight is starting, but when the fight isn't happening, they can play a lot slower.
Oh, but it hurts when you lose your Sombra early, but it's better that you get their Brig as well. This is the issue now, where Team Haven are going to be moving in, and they seem to be working off of it. Luma just not being able to kind of shut them down. I was worried for a second, because as we know, the teams can easily rotate, but they managed to figure it out.
I'm a little bit concerned at how Floppy ended up in that position, because realistically, like, they shouldn't be there. Like, with Gita, usually it's just either defending their Ona, has a sightline onto their Tracer and Echo so they can get the packs and take jewels. So Milkosh can take more friendly jewels of Rob, for example. Bossy can poke from the skies a little bit more aggressively. Potentially more lower on the Divas, threatening them. I think that was a really poor team fight from Floppy, probably the worst fight we've seen from them so far. Let's see if they can pick it up and make sure their Ona stays alive in the next fight, make sure their positioning's better, and make sure they can maximize the value of the DPS in the next fight. That's what Floppy's job is going to be in this round.
Yep, this is all about how they want to move in. The payload's in a weird position to where we want to be seeing average, or we're going to be seeing average kind of moving in, while Luma are going to be focusing heavily on counter diving. Because this high ground is a very oppressive spot, we gotta see who manages to get that first pick or first value. Although, Milo is coming up on the Nano, which is what I think they're prioritizing, as Milkers is trying to kind of focus them out on the backline. But this is why you see the Primal Rage being used. Average is so frustrated that nobody's dying or kind of moving off. You boop them off the high ground, you manage to find out at Echo, and you're putting pressure onto the Brig. But now your own backline is kind of released out. You're split from your own team. You have to move into the enemy's bubble, and they're going to be using the Nano to move forward. Milo is now in a vulnerable position, is going to be found out by the Tracer and eventually picked. Team Haven using that Coalescence just as a good engagement as well. They just seem to know how to play this slow. They are perfectly fine. Not even that bomb's going to be able to shut them down, but the stall is kind of well enough working out as we see Bacon use that Primal Range once to try to make something happen or give a second for the team to come back. Potentially to find out that the team is absolutely beautiful, as this can help them kind of have some room to come back, although it really is only the tank line and they've lost their diva. Kevin Bacon is going to be struggling to try to survive as they fly into the air, but there's just nobody on their team to really come in, and even the Summer, my apologies, is going to be missing that, and Team Haven are going to be able to capture that second point.
I like the fact that they adapted over to the Sombra here, Luma, but I don't like the other changes they're making. I don't like the Cowboy swap. They're going to go over the Brawl, but they're going to keep the Rally. If they want to win this next team fight, they're going to have to use the Rally early. I think Milo's going to go over to Baptiste, so probably can go over to Lucio later on. So what's going to happen here is probably going to use the Rally early, hopefully, because otherwise they have no way to sustain if that EMP comes out. So watch Osu and watch Floppy.
You say if, I say when. They're going to be using that rally really early, and this is going to be their engagement value. Look at them just having the confidence of Thor himself as they just want to be able to move in, try to take some focus, and they seem unworried, kind of overstaying their welcome. They're able to find out average. So now, if Team Haven, if they're smart, they don't want to invest.
So Team Haven impressed me in the last fight of Point B because they were able to play a rush composition, but not engage immediately. They were able to kind of take a slower setup. Oh, this is going to be interesting, Rob. Are they going to get out?
Up.
Ish.
Just barely.
Yeah,
but
sort of. No, they're dead.
Yeah.
That's not good for Team Haven, right? Because now their entire team kind of has to reset, because what you kind of need with this rush comp is you need to have a slower setup, particularly now that you're against the Brawl composition. You kind of need to have your Tracer at a different angle to where Winston is. So your Tracer maybe comes from left, Winston comes from man, and then the EMP is ready to go, and you can use a Squad Ultimate or maybe a Pulse Bomb to get some more damage and get involved.
Yeah, and I'm not going to lie to you. I think it's going to be a lot harder for them to find much value, especially because this EMP is looking out, and it manages to really find two. The most important person is going to be Kevin Bacon, but the issue is that their team is entirely split to be able to follow this up, and now the Brawl is just able to kind of take it out. I mean, you finally find out Kevin Bacon, but 4 out of the 6 people are gone. It looks like Osu wants to be trying to even things out, but Somber just not being able to escape.
And that's a really critical fight win for Luma. Now we can see what we could call a defensive snowball here. Of course, the snowball is where you kind of roll someone down a hill, it picks up more snow, it picks up more speed as you go down the hill, and you get a lot of momentum from it. This is what Luma are looking to create now on their defense. They're looking to win a lot of team fights in a row, because Team Haven used a lot of their ultimates, a lot of their critical ultimates. EMP isn't online anymore. Yes, they'll have both support ultimates, but now Luma are starting to build up to their critical ultimates. They'll have a Blizzard next team fight, they'll have a Deadeye as well, and Deadeye is really good at setting a Blizzard, because you quicken the team fight up, and then you slow it right back down, and that's where Blizzard is at its best.
Yeah, this is an interesting coalescence to see, because it's used on the low ground before the dive tanks were really set up. So now we see Luma, they're going to go the opposite way, and Team Haven, they really just want to move in. They're even using that primal range, but look at that, frozen charge, you're melted down, and now the window is used as security. You can't even push the point because the blizzard's there, forcing you to not be able to touch, and now you're kind of swap sides, defending, using that rally just when you be able to move in. Probably doing a good job of just being able to get those small picks as well.
So when Luma moved into that room, Team Haven have a lot of different options on how they can approach it, and they kind of just decided, let's walk into the room. That's not a good idea. He's playing against a Reinhardt, right? Winston, of course, can do more damage further away when they are from a Reinhardt, right? Not actually more damage statistically, but Reinhardt swinging a Winston, but Winston can tease at a Reinhardt for about 16 meters, and Reinhardt swinging 12 meters. So they need to kind of play it patiently and set up different angles in that room, have their chaser go up top maybe, and that would have been a lot better.
Yeah, that bomb, I would say, honestly was a very early one. It seemed that they just wanted to catch them, and I like seeing Haven walk out, swapping out their compositions. They're kind of in a small mirror with big major differences. But the issue is that they're holding their shield out. The average is taking in so much pressure, so much poke. They can't really
I think
move.
they're waiting for AFP user because look, 94% to OC's AFP and the Nano Darling.
Yeah, they have to use that sound barrier just to sustain and push forward, but average is already caught out. This EMP is going to be built up very kind of late. They needed that a tiny bit sooner because look, the Blizzard's being used, the entirety of their team is caught out. And I mean, that is absolutely massive. That is a 6-man. But you've been 6-manned by just kind of focus fire.
Right, let's be real, right? That EMP, they wanted that EMP. They nanoed the Reinhardt when Alavosi was, what, 94% in the EMP? How did it take so long? The entire nano was over by the time that OC got the EMP off, and by the time the EMP was off, realistically, their entire team was dead. That Falsi's Blizzard. Now they have to walk into a Deadeye, an Earth Shatter, and a rally coming up from Luma. I think this round could well and truly be over.
Yeah, look at this. They want to put pressure onto Kevin Bacon, but this is just a typical Shatter setup. Look at them. They want it. The Reinhardt wants to be able to pop it out, but they've lost their May. They have to use that rally as some security, and it looks like Bacon's getting pressured out. Froppy is the one who's going to be hit, but no one else. And same with the window being there. But honestly, it's a bit more confusing to see how they want to be taking this Haven. They're down, they're backing up, and it was kind of confusing how they weren't really working with their Reinhardt, but they still wanted to try to take someone out.
This is going to be interesting. With 20 seconds on the clock, so we have one team fight left for Haven. And Luma did use all of their ultimates beside a self-destruct, so they'll maybe use an early self-destruct, but if Team Haven could survive that, they have a nano boost. If they can get in with that nano boost, that's a massive main tank advantage if they put it onto the Reinhardt, and that could set up space for the Deadeye. Critical team fight incoming.
Yep, I love to see this Nano come out on the Reinhardt, but the bomb! You don't react fast enough, 3 get taken out! And that's basically just the insurance security deposit check on the US bank that you want to be able to kind of invest in. Even that Pioneer is just going to be walled off, and there's just nothing you can do. As we're going to be seeing Team Haven, they do indeed get Snowball held, as they're not going to be able to push that beyond the choke.
I mean that's one hell of a defensive snowball, isn't it, right? Like, Luma won 3-4 major team fights in a row there just because of their ultimate economy. I mean, Team Haven had like a better ultimate economy at the end, but like, they had to walk into that self-destruct. They had to know that self-destruct was online, and they could have been a lot more patient. They could have tried to bait out the self-destruct, then go for the nano engagement and see how that went, because that could have set up the Deadeye a lot better. I didn't really like that approach from Haven. I think Luma are the more intelligent team. I think they have better focus fire. I think they understand what compositions they're playing better. I think they knew when to go to Brawler at the end. I personally didn't like the Brawl swap. I think that it was a poor swap, but it worked out well for them because they are a really good Brawl team, right? They know that. So Luma know themselves better, they know their compositions better, they are more intelligent, they are better at focus firing, and that's what's giving the advantage here. It's just, they're a slightly better at everything. At Team Haven, they need to close that gap, and if they don't, it's going to be 2-0 here very fast.
Yeah, I feel like Luma, in the long run, they at least understood, hey, we need to get off this composition. We're being snowballed, and we're not running it properly. So seeing them run it on the attack, I feel this is more going to be of the bread and butter. This is where they can feel more confident. I am a little scared for Luma because Osu is on the Torbjorn, and I think Torbjorn is just the best kind of passive counter against an Echo and Tracer.
This will be interesting. Now we're going to see a Torbjorn on the defense. I love Osu. I believe said that Genji was their favorite hero. That could have been an interesting option here. Otherwise, here is going to put the Torbjorn. So what Torbjorn's going to do here is trying to shut down the angles and even just space that Fossey on the Echo and Milkers on the Tracer is deploying. So it's going to be on Froppy to try and give the resources, split the resources between the TPS evenly while they try and deal with this Torbjorn and the threat that Torbjorn turret and just the Torbjorn themselves possess against those two very mobile TPS.
Yep, this is where kind of the slow poke comes in of both of these teams wanting to take over the high ground. It does seem Luma are going to be able to kind of take it over, but they're still a little too scared to truly contest it, especially with the fact that they're very split off. Their support line is being poked by the Tracer, and they're not really looking like they know where they want to go. The Echo is now dangerously low on the side of Luma, but look at that, Milker is going to be found, but average is gone. That's going to hurt. This is now set up to where Luma can dive freely and go wherever they want. They're
close to Nano as well. Milo's 98%.
Oh, that's not going to be looking good. They really are just going to be setting this up. Look at this, as they're prepared, waiting for that bubble. This is one long dive separation as we see them focus out the Torbjorn, who is just alone out there. The turret's going to be gone. They have nothing to kind of be safe. Though the monkey does return, this is where Echo shines bright, forcing out the Primal Rage, as there's just too much damage. And I mean, sure, Milo is going to be killed here because of just the boots. Kevin not only gets that nano, but does manage to get out with the Primal Rage just moving forward. And it seems Haven are managing to bring it back, though. The respawns or something are going to be able to kind of help them out. Sure, you managed to get this high noon. It doesn't manage to finish off anyone. And now there's a copy on the point. And I've got to say, that's a solidifying win for the side of Luma.
Yeah, Luma are going to win this team fight. I mean, Team Haven had a moment where they could have brought it back. I think Luma probably should. They were kind of sloppy in that team fight. I feel like their focus fire kind of dwindled down. Yeah, once they got the nano boost, it was a good plan to just kind of wait for the nano boost. Once they got that nano boost, the focus fire wasn't good enough, and the actual plan of what target they went on to wasn't good enough. But Luma still win the team fight. They have been the more intelligent team. Their focus fire has been better. Let's see what they can do in this next team fight. They have no ultimates. I think what they might do is they kind of might just wait for nano boost again, right? I think they might just slow things down, try and poke out here with the Hunter. I think that Hunter switch suggests that. They slow things down, take a little bit of damage on purpose, and build up to that nano boost, and then go again.
I think it works out, but the main issue is that the moment that they use that nano, the moment that they want to try diving in, Ham has the Transcendence, as does Zenyatta. And I think that right now is going to be their biggest ultimate, because that can slow down the fight to a standstill to where Luma can't really push in or find anything. So as we already see them taking a bunch of poke, trying to get that set up, they want to use that Molten Core very early. But I've got to say, that was a bit too productive of a Molten Core, because they're just going to play slow. They're just going to back up, and they take out your main tank because of it. And your Diva is now going to be found. Sure, you managed to get their Echo, but this is for their full room to just push in.
Yeah, and Fossey gets rezzed as well, so Fossey is probably now going to put some pressure on Homahei on the Zenyatta, and that now means that it might be go time. Milo's got the nano boost, Kevin Bacon, Discord and down, so maybe, they don't really have a target for this down, so maybe Fossey right now?
I've got to say that you really want to be giving it to that Echo. Echo does so much damage as it is. It's broken when they get the nano boost. So without their main tank being here reliably to help them, and now you have a monkey on the back line, you really need something to bring it out. However, it does seem that Luma, they want to be waiting. They're not confident to move without Kevin Bacon. So this is where we see them slowly getting hit with the poke, slowly starting to back up, and kind of being staggering themselves. Although this dragon does get invested, thrown out, finishing out average. They do get the res onto the monkey, so now this is entirely back into their field. Was almost confusing, but now works out, getting some poke in onto the Soldier 76. They are going to be using that Transcendence because they were being poked out a lot, but this is where the nano gets used. Now this is where they get to move in. I don't know exactly it hit or how long it lasted, but it definitely started to work. The split side of Team Haven is going to be working in their favor, but this bomb might help out a tiny bit, and it does manage you to find out that 2K. That's exactly what you needed, especially when that was only 2.67 meters left. Team Haven managing to stall this out in their favor.
Honestly, Luma, I think they know what they need to do on this side competition, but they're not confident, right? I think maybe a fight and a half ago where they had the opportunity to use the nano onto the Echo, they just weren't confident enough to make that engagement. I think they should have made that engagement. They would have won that team fight. We'd be on point C right now. But they wanted to wait for the Winston, then they lost their Echo, then they made the Dragon Strike investment. It was a little bit messy. I don't think they're confident enough at this dive competition. I think they're better at it. They're just not confident to actually make the plays, whereas Team Haven are. And now they're slowly building back up to some ultimates. I love OC, close to the attack visor. Rob already has that dead on.
Yep, they're going to be using this Echo copy very early. They want to try to kind of focus people down, get them out of their comfort zone, especially with that Valk. This has given them so much healing and passive damage. It works out, but Paper manages to get the 3K. Rob does kind of put on the Dave hat and tries to say no, but there is just nothing you can do against the aggressive and dive of Luma's composition.
Right, so what they did there is actually use the duplicate onto the Winston to create space with that self-destruct, right? Because it's harder to deal with that self-destruct when you're kind of getting primed around by a duplicated Winston, right? Like Kevin Bacon went into another piece of space as well, and that's why that self-destruct got so much damage. Looks like Luma, they're like, okay, we don't really want to play this here. Let's go on to full brawl now. Let's keep the nano boost, which will allow us to build up our Reinhardt ultimate a little bit quicker. So we will keep one of our support ultimates, and then probably go to the bat after this team fight. What do Haven have to really deal with this? I mean, they have to stop the mid-rotation, otherwise Homahei is in trouble.
I mean, they do have the visor, they pop out the healing, but look at Soldier already taking immense pressure. They've lost their monkey. This is now where they're using the legs to try to find people out. They are putting in an immense amount of damage, and it does look like Phosphate is going to be found. So they have a time bank, so they're perfectly fine with resetting and trying to go in essence.
Well, see, Team Haven are stuck on like this double flexible on Zen, right? That's not beneficial to them at all. They're gonna have the Nanobites and they're gonna have the Transcendence online, but after that, after these support ultimates kind of run their course and the cycle is over, so after this team fight, Luma will still have about maybe 30 seconds and a team fight to get this done.
Yep, they're moving in, they're going in head hard. Both of the Reinhardts are trying to do their best to take anyone out, but it's up to Ham as a true MVP. That Transcendence was right on time, not only healing in for the Reinhardt, but allowing the team to push and shut them down. This is now looking a little bit more grim for the side of Luma.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be concerned because they will have a minute left if Milo could die. Milo's gonna get staggered. No, they're not gonna stagger Milo. That's probably a bad call because now look, Luma have an ultimate advantage. They forced out both of the support ultimates out of Haven. That's kind of what I expected to happen because they're flexible ultimates. They're gonna be forced out pretty easily because of how immobile the heroes are. Now Luma switch over to the map. They're now in the full brawl position. They have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ultimates in this team fight. Jedi's gonna set up the Blizzard well. Shatter's gonna set up the self-destruct well, and Bumpy's gonna have a sound barrier to get the entire team involved. I think this is Luma's map.
I'm really hoping though. That's 4 ultimates and they throw both of their bombs out. They want to try to find as much as they can, and Phosby's the one. However, it's still an even trade. This Shatter's built. The High Noon goes out, not being able to find much. Luma's going to be hit by it, and they're going to be struggling. Although a DC hits Team Haven, that's not going to be looking too great. Although they seem to have been winning this fight, especially with it rocking now into this overtime type of scenario. Team Haven, they're managing to bring it out, managing to get Fossey was the true pick of the century because there's no Blizzard stopping them. They do try to go onto some stalls. They're trying to touch this point. They use the sound barrier. They pop the Blizzard. It's a 5v6 permanently now, and it's a massive Blizzard. I mean, the Nano does do a good job, but they've taken out 2 people of yours, and honestly, that's going to be hurting a lot in the future. You've got to be mad because you had a good hold, but there is just so much overall damage. You don't have that extra DPS to be helping you out. It just looks like Luma managed to get that clutch DC. They're managing the stream snipe, DDoS, whatever you need, because honestly, there's just not much you can do to stop that. When we see Luma win out and take over Numbani.
That's heartbreaking, man. Oh, that's so unfortunate for Team Haven. Yeah, honestly, that last team fight was the best Overwatch we've seen from them today, right? Because Luma had all of the ultimates they needed to get in and win that team fight. But they didn't really. Team Haven got an early start strike. They got the pick on the Fossey, which was the critical pick because they only used the Deadeye Luma to try and set up the Blizzard. That's what they wanted to do. That was their weakness. That's why they wanted to win the team fight. But that all went away when Fossey went down, and then the DC meant that Luma could come back. They were able to reset their minds, take another team fight. Now Luma are 2-0 up in this series. Yeah. Although, let's talk about positive signs for Team Haven. That was a dive match, and arguably, Luma are worse at dive than Brawl, right? Like, straight up, right? Yeah, that's probably true. Because they're not confident in their dives. Like, when they were actually mid-team fight and they got their decision-making right, they were pretty good, but they're not confident enough in their dive comp. They weren't making plays to suggest that they are confident in winning team fights on the dive composition. They're confident in their win conditions either. So maybe they go to another more dive-centered map like Volskaya next.
Yeah, I definitely gotta agree. I do think the DC hurts a lot. I definitely would have been giving that to Team Haven solely because going into a fight 6v6 at least gives you some more kind of mental. You're like, all right, we're gonna be fine. But once you get that DC, I think that's what your mind passively focuses on. You're like, oh no, now they're gonna be running in. They pop not only the sound barrier in Blizzard, and the Blizzard was absolutely amazing because it helps them get those picks and all that. I think Team Haven, they've shown kind of a glimpse at what they can do. But honestly, Luma I think they not only got a bit lucky, but they just had a bit more of a plan to come back when it was that time.
Yeah, it's so unfortunate for Team Haven, right? Isn't it? Like, this series could be 1-1 right now, but let's stay true. The important fact of this series, it's 2-0 Luma. They're 1 map away from victory in our GitGud rookie game. Team Haven, if they want to bring us back, they're gonna have to reverse sweep. Yeah, what they do know, right, is like they're better at dive, or they're better on the more dive-centric maps. So there is a chance that it happens, but over 3 maps, if you win the next one, then Luma get a map pick. This is gonna be hard.
Yeah, I definitely gotta agree. It's going to be kind of an upscale thing. So on the bright side, we do have some diva comparisons, so we get to see who kind of got more value in the long run, who was able to kind of get more sustain. And honestly, they played at a very even time. And I gotta say, these stats are very even. But I think what makes a difference is the fact that Paper not only kind of has more eliminations, but less deaths by a considerable amount.
Let's look at deaths, because right, that is 0.6% of the deaths, 0.6 out of 1 of the deaths that Laura has, so 60% of the deaths that Laura has, if you look at that. So the deaths is a major amount, right? Like 4 on Diva is a major point, but look at the other stats as well. Paper Knave is winning in every single stat bar hero time, and that's not really a stat, is it? It's just a better performance so far from Paper Knave. Poor Laura's played fine. Like they're definitely not like a weak spot in the Team Haven roster, but Paper Knave has definitely been the better off tank, been getting more value out of the off tank heroes so far this series, and those stats do tell a true story.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Like, at least for me, as someone who is not only a support player, but a tank player, I'm more focused on how much utility you're getting in for the team. Like, damage is always going to be, like, a beneficial thing. I'm glad to see that Paper is getting 37 elims, but the fact that you're getting 5k kind of damage block per 10, and Par is going up against, I would say, a more pokey comp. There was a lot more opportunities to eat damage, and you're not being able to block it. That's a big issue. You need to be a bit more consistent. You need to be able to peel in for your team, or you're going to be getting less value. You're going to be dying more often, demech more often, and that's kind of what's showing in right now.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could say Paper had both the Cowboy and the Soldier 760 damage from, but not really, right? I guess Laura also had a Tracer and Echo, right? 2 heroes that Diva is pretty strong against and wasn't able to eat that much damage. I do think that both the damage box stats are kind of low for Bonnie. I think that both of them could be a little bit higher. Maybe let's say 5.8k would have been ideal on either side. Maybe it was another case of maybe not appealing for the backline, and maybe most of the damage from the DPS was going on to backline heroes, obviously because there was a lot of Tracer played. That could make a lot more sense. So maybe the positioning of these divas, both of them, might need to be looked at in the future, and maybe that can progress them further than the rookie division in the future.
Definitely agree. Although I can't get over the fact that the hero time comparison is down by 1 second. Maybe they swapped off Diva for like a millisecond. The game was like, whoa, what are you doing? But honestly, I've got to say, still good stats for rookie division. But obviously, Laura and the side of Team Haven, you've got a lot to look at. You've got a lot to worry about. But honestly, this is where we kind of get a moment. Because our next map obviously is going to... Well, not obviously, because you guys can't see what we're seeing. It is going to be Route 66 with no side swap. So I think that's going to be a little interesting.
Yeah, so I like the fact that Loom are picking to defend first. I always like it when a team tries to set the bar for themselves. By defending first, I think most teams that defend first have a little bit of advantage. Route 66 here... Is that the map pick to go for? I don't know our exact Escort map pool and what map picks they could have made, but Escort, I mean, maybe if Gibraltar was in the map pool, that would have been a better pick, but we'll see how confident Team Haven are on this map. Luma, I think this is one of the maps that you can run Brawl on the defense, right? I mean, it's definitely not the best idea. I definitely prefer either Double Shield or Wrecking Ball Sigma or Wrecking Ball Diva comms. But it's definitely possible, especially in the rookie division, because you could, of course, make that spawn hold to get a lot of team fights in. If you make the spawn hold on Route 66, you could probably get 3 team fights in on the defense, and that would be pretty nice for them.
Yep, but look at the bright side. We get a minute of a break. You now know our map. You know what we're looking for, so... You got to be giving a little hope, give a little prayer to your teams that you're wishing for, because it could still be anybody's favor. But make sure you tune back in to GGEU, because we'll be right back after this quick break.
Touching me like lightning, keeping it exciting. You know exactly what to do to blow my mind. You're from another planet. I've never felt like this. I don't know how I ever survived without it. I'm starry-eyed, got me upside down, spinning around you. Wanna taste the clouds, dance with the moon. Take a trip around your body, boy, I love the way you got me. Starry-eyed, got me starry-eyed. This bed is out of space, just keep painting constellations. You cover me in glitter till I'm shining bright. I never wanna leave the sky. The way you made me feel alive. I was in the dark and baby, you're the light. You're from
Running through the last of my thoughts, standing on the edge of my time. Everything I know will be gone in a minute, and that's alright, alright, 'cause I'm free. I'm freer than I've ever been before. Yeah, baby, I'm free. I'm freer than I've ever been before. Alright, 'cause I'm free. I'm freer than I've ever been before. Yeah, baby, I'm free. I'm freer than I've ever been before. Running through the last of my thoughts, standing on the edge of my time. Everything I know will be gone in a minute, and that's alright. Running through the last of my thoughts, standing on the edge of my time. Everything I know will be gone in a minute, and that's alright, alright, 'cause I'm free. I'm freer than I've ever been before.
Welcome back, everyone. We are here, still live, still happy, still playing Overwatch. Second part may be a lie because we're playing Overwatch, but still, here we are, rocking with Luma, leading a 2-0 victory over Team Haven. Again, Route 66 Nest map. You're still here, joined by username underscore Intel and Ocean. We've got a moment to breathe, think, grab some alcohol, you know.
I don't think we've been grabbing that. No, I don't think so. I don't know if we're allowed to do that. Okay, let's talk about Route 66. Let's talk about the series so far. Let's just kind of slow things down. Luma looked pretty dominant on Route 66. Sorry, not Route 6. Lijiang Tower. Route 66 is next. Lijiang Tower, they looked pretty dominant. It was majority brawl compositions from them, and they were the better brawl team. We go into the Bonnie Team Haven's map pick. Luma look a lot less confident. They're playing some dive-based comps, which are of course better on Bonnie, but they don't look confident enough to make the planes. Team Haven, they looked like they could snatch the map back in the player DCs. Luma take the map to 0. That's kind of what's happened so far. Route 66, a map where you can play a variety of compositions. I firmly expect Luma to try like something like double shield and then swap back over to the brawl later on when they're a little bit more comfortable. And I think Luma probably will win this map, but Team Haven, there were better sound tune from them, a lot more comfortable on the last map in the Bonnie, and this is their map pick.
Yeah, I've got to say, I think at least when it comes down to this, first point, second point, we both can agree, heavily dive. It's a heavily bunker type of rain that you want to be able to play, and you can slow it down to a bear crawl, which I think, Luma, they look really good on the brawl. That's been their best composition at least, so I think when they're moving into it, when they're going to be trying to run that down, it's going to be reliant on. So when we're continuing on, I do agree. I feel like Luma could win this out because they at least showed the consistency to be able to kind of play against this. It's going to be a lot harder for them to try to get momentum moving through. I think if they play the dive, they need to have it a lot cleaner. They need to have some good executions and confidence. While if they go on the brawl, they need to have good rotations. They need to play around a poke or a counter dive or something like that.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting, right? We don't really know what Haven's style is, and that's a problem in itself, right? We can't see Haven's identity immediately from two maps, and that is a little bit worrying. Maybe they don't have one. Of course, they are a rookie division team, so maybe it isn't expected. And of course, a lot of the time in GitGud, we don't see teams of identity. And that's probably one of their number one flaws, and that's probably the number one thing they need to work on to progress as a team, have a style that they're comfortable playing, or even just, maybe not even a style they're comfortable playing, but like an environment they're comfortable playing in. Like, you can tell that by just watching the team play. Are they comfortable playing in the environment they're in, or are they comfortable playing the style? And we can tell Haven, we can't see it yet. maybe we will be able to see it in Route 66. That's going to be something I'm watching out for. Maybe you should watch out for it as well. Maybe you can place your bets, or well, not really, you can't bet, but you can place your bets on what Team Haven is like, what their style might be later on in the season based on this Route 66 map. That could be a fun game to play as a viewer.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie to you. I am a gambling man, alright? It's an addict, it's a problem, and it's something my doctors need to talk to me about. But we do see this close hold of Luma's type of competition. I think it's kind of good. The big issue is playing against that Pharah. Definitely something they want to be worrying about, but they managed to find out Jogger, and that's going to matter the most, because now they don't have any healer, and that Pharah is going to be picked off in the sky. Although Kevin Bacon is the one who is going to be gone and kind of needs your main team to be able to shield, you can still definitely brawl this out if you choose to.
Yeah, well, so Luma are holding close so that they can run roll on this map, and honestly, if they play fast enough, that Pharah might be a non-issue. They're just going to play extremely fast.
Yeah, that anti is going to be hit, and they've lost their mech. Paper is going to be struggling to kind of help out the team, and eventually going to be picked off. But this is where we see that kind of full hold spawn close is just not going to be working out. They just need to reset.
Oh no, Kevin Bacon. If they chase up Kevin Bacon, this is really, really bad for Luma. They're going to try and get the Baptiste as well. Milo's in trouble.
Oh, this is not looking good. They are 100% going to be killed, and Kevin is not going to be able to escape. They have now set themselves up really nicely here.
Yeah, so you see Joey, in the Pharah player coming in for Team Haven as a big switch. Obviously, in the DC last round, maybe that's why it happened. Luma, they would have been able to get 3 fights on this first point defense, but after those 2 staggers, it might only be 2, and they've not really built up to any ultimates. Team Haven goes to that barrage. They've also got self-destruct and a nano boost as well. I think that nano will go to Winston or the Pharah, so watch out for that nano boost.
Yep, they have this barrage. It's plopping down. It is looking to take out, but it seemed that the monkey's kind of primal messes it up, loops people out of the way, and kind of saves them. This may be an issue, although they do take out Milkers. They invest the Valk and Nano, so honestly, there's no reason why they don't win this. The kind of raw damage and poke they're able to take, especially with not only the Widowmaker, but the Pharah being able to take these sight lines. They just clean things up to the point where Milkers is just giving up, not even wanting to move forward.
That was a pretty hard team fight from Luma. They tried to get a brawl going, but they didn't really have a plan in mind, right? They didn't get everyone to a target. Everyone was a little bit split. That meant that the Pharah was going to get a lot of value because the team fight wasn't at a fast pace. It was at a slower pace, and that's where Pharah is at her very best. So let's talk about what they could do to deal with the tornado. Maybe they could early Deadeye to get some space and then engage onto someone on Team Haven. That's an idea. I would really like that. Appreciate that sort of fight plan from Luma.
Yeah, they are taking some very nice rotation. It seems that they just really want to play on this point, while Jal is able to kind of play around. They focus out the Ana, but this is where the big issue comes in, where they have to try to leave, but Team Haven say, no, you're in our line. Interestingly enough, they want to use that bomb just to be able to remake, maybe stall this out. They're using that barrier just to kind of long-term hold this, but honestly, they don't have a Reinhardt there. They're kind of stalling themselves out, and even Milo, who's trying to escape this, the DPS are there, and they're going to be picking you out.
When you play a brawl composition on Escort on the defense, you're usually trying to take as many team fights as possible and wear out the time bank, and I think that's why they used ultimates there, and that's why they took the team fight so early. I think they weren't in the greatest space to take the team fight. Yeah, they made it up close and personal, which is better for their Reinhardt because they want to brawl. The problem is they took too much spam damage from the Pharah. They weren't quite fast enough into what target they wanted to kill, so the Pharah was able to spam and get some long-term benefit in that team fight.
Yeah, this barrage, absolutely beautiful, drops down, but it seems Average is going to be the one kill stealing that. They aren't going to be able to kind of move out, and now they're completely struggling. It's somewhat been a steamroll, as we've seen Team Haven not really too scared to just move forward. They have these sight lines, and they're even going to get a small stagger onto the Baby Diva. But I'm curious to see how they're going to be trying to play against this, as everything kind of slows down, as everything gets a lot closer. How do we see Luma kind of play against this?
Right, let's see. Rob is getting a lot of value on the Widowmaker as well, because Rob's been able to take different angles. Maybe you could have your Brawl go onto the back line and then have, oh wow, have your Diva Paperdev take on the one of the DPS, but it looks like they've had enough of their Brawl composition. They're swapping off. Football's probably going to go over either to a Break or a Mercy here. Oh, okay, interesting. Oh, okay, here comes the break swap.
Yeah, it took that second.
Go on over to dive, right? But the problem is they weren't confident on this side, and you have to be confident because you're now playing against a Team Haven team that's got a lot of momentum and an average boost on one.
It's also scarier because they swapped to that Soldier 76, so not only do they have faster respawns, but good damage, and the Monkey does get the nano. It seems to be solo fighting out that Brig, and without any form of peel from Milo, it doesn't work. Luckily, that sleep is going to slow things down, but Luma, they're not finding anything out of this dive. Their mech's gone, their tanks are split, they have no team to help them, and now they have to go back to their spawn point.
This is looking really bad for Luma, right? Their supports aren't playing tight enough when they're playing these dive comps. It hasn't happened the entire series, and now this is set up really well for Team Haven. They can have an early Valkyrie and get a lot more of a damage benefit. Boss is going to go over to the Reaper. This seems like a panic pick.
I definitely agree. They want to try to shut something down, but the body block is there. Kevin Bacon stuck for some reason, wasn't able to kind of move around or leave, and the rest of Luma now panicking. They want to be able to lower down this time bank as fast as possible, but they're basically not getting much out of it, and with this visor as good insurance, well, it's basically aimbot, as they like to say, because you're just not going to be able to stall. The Wrecking Ball can try and do as much as they can, especially with Milo onto Moira. But how much can you do against a team that is fully focused on you, fully fired, and has 2 minutes and 2 minutes and 20 seconds on their timing?
Yeah, that was probably the worst of what we've seen from Luma so far. They've been pretty good so far, but there, I don't with any positives whatsoever. The swaps were weird. I mean, I understand you want to play fast against the far, and maybe they feel easier on that dive composition, but we already know they're not confident enough to do that. We saw that in Bonnie. They are not confident to play at a good pace and make plays in a dive composition, right? And so, yes, dive compositions are more mobile and better against Farah, but the team fight has to be fast. Right, so your setup could be whatever it wants, because you can kind of heal up the spam damage from the fire, right? Your setup could be whatever pace it wants. But when you actually engage, that needs to be quick. The quick engagement and the rest of the team fight needs to be fast. Otherwise, that fire is going to get a tremendous amount of development. Additionally, when we see them playing the dive-based compositions, their supports have not been good enough. Their supports have been too far away from each other, have not been able to appeal for each other at all. It happened on the Bonnie various times, especially on point A, and it happened at the end of that round. Their supports need to patch that up if they want to play dive again.
Yeah, I honestly would have preferred them to do what Team Haven's doing right now, is go on to this double shield, because at least you build yourself some kind of safety bubble to where the Pharah has some issues trying to move in, the Widow doesn't have too many sight lines, and it's going to be harder for Luma to kind of move in against this, because they're going to be able to counter out Milkers, who's on the Widow, and if they're not getting consistent dives, if they're not finding targets out of position, it's just going to hurt them in the long run.
I think Milky's just taking a shot out of spawn. No, okay, Milky's going to stay on the Widowmaker by the looks of things. Bossy trying to set up a dive. Maybe they're just scouting? No, I think they're just waiting for something. I'm not exactly sure what they're waiting for. Maybe just to try and build up Smoke Charge, take some spam with the Winston, and build up Nano. I mean, Winston's really good against this combo. Like, what really stops the Winston here, other than spam damage on the approach? So as long as your dive setups are good and your timing's good, the Winston should get tremendous value here on the offense.
They do a good job of calling things out, and they get to hack onto the Ana. That means there's no anti or sleep dart. This is the moment you want to dive, but they're waiting. I'm guessing they're looking out for Michael Jackson's next album, as the Widowmaker is trying to be able to do something, takes immense pressure, and then gets poked out, and that's just not looking good. I mean, eventually you come back, you get the hack onto the Mercy, but you don't manage to escape. I mean, this payload's been moving, but Luma aren't really kind of doing anything to allow it to move. It's just more of Team Haven saying, you can do it, but we're going to kill you as you do it.
Okay, so Milkers is going on over to the Tracer. I like this a lot more. Double shield compositions, they really struggle against players from different angles. So what you can do is you can say maybe your Winston from main. The reason you want your Winston main is because they can take spam and build up your nano boost, and that's pretty cool for you. I mean, you're not on the Winston anymore. So I guess maybe you send your Wrecking Ball to the left-hand side with your Tracer as they try to cause some disruption, and maybe send your Sombra just from the right-hand side of this double shield, and try and get a hack, and then maybe your Diva could come from main with your Brigitte and Zenyatta to get damage. You need to approach this double shield from different angles, and you have to have your setup perfect. Otherwise, Team Haven are just going to on-spam you, build up their ultimates, and just essentially take Route 66.
Yeah, Ocean, I've seen many things in my life, and it just seems like I'm looking at the Wrecking Ball managing to boop off Pelora, who takes a lot of damage, and just gets healed up. They're perfectly fine. Milo's gonna die. Same with Froppy, the support line, who are there to not only peel in. I mean, you get to Sigma, but you've traded out 3 people in the long run. It was not worth it.
Okay, so there is a way to deal with this. I mean, now they've got the kill on the Homahei. This next fight might be a little bit easier to set up. So the idea now, I think, is Papernev is going to walk the supports up top. I think this is the best idea possible. Walk the supports up top and have them take an angle on the left near the high ground that Team Haven will be aren't on, but they can look at, right? And then that means Kevin Bacon can set up a dive and engagement with the EMP, so the EMP will come out, Milkers and Kevin Bacon will engage onto the high ground, and Milo and Floppy will have a sight line onto the rest of the team, and of course there's no shields, which means Disco Orb is going to be popping on.
Yeah, I've got to say I'm a little bit more worried as we continue to move on because Team Haven really haven't been forced to use ultimates. It's more of what they've been wanting to use. Now they're going to have this bomb go out. So now if you try to dive in like this Diva, well, you're just going to be shot in the face. Your DM can only take so much. Same with your mech. But they are playing around it perfectly fine. Milo even managing to find out the Mercy, although this Nano Visor is relatively strong. It looked to be more of just trying to find anyone who's flanking, specifically Smilkers, and they have the EMP. But they're not set up. They even get that trade onto Milo, the hack onto the Orisa, and they aren't going to be able to get the Mega Health back, but you need to have a lot faster execution because look, the Sigma's going to be coming in. They have to go over to Clux if they choose to pop it. The bomb's going to go. The Valk is now here. They get that pulse bomb out. They're able to take it. Jolie's now getting pressure. The Rally's going to be able to sustain them throughout this entirety, while we see Ham just not going to be able to escape. Luma being able to bring it back just barely, and honestly, whew, wipes that sweat off my brow.
Right, let's think about this, because here we go, we've got Foxy of the EMP, so they didn't actually, did they use it in that team fight? I don't think so, so they didn't need it. And this is going to be a really important resource for them, as Team Haven now switch over to double flex support, switch up a lot of their heroes, so Luma now have a chance to create a snowball of their own. They had a really good defensive snowball on the last map. Let's see what they could do here. They've got Minefield as well, so they'll have a lot of burst damage with the EMP. This team fight's probably the most important team fight we're going to see on the Loom offense for Route 66. If they win this team fight, they'll probably cut point B and have a lot of time back for point C.
I've got to say, this is about to be an Avengers level threat if you just didn't let yourself get detected. Because now they're going to be a bit more prepared and look out for you, and they aren't switching over to this dive composition. They do get the EMP out, and it manages to hit a good 4, but you lose yourself during the midway, and it looks like your team has to use the Transcendence to just allow themselves, so even that EMP is just not going to get as much value as you really want it to. The payload does manage to move, and you have the mines to stop anybody from jumping onto you, so what they're going to do is jump behind you. They're not really scared of anything. Average does go down, but the rest of the team, well, they're just going to do their job and take you out.
That's the worst case scenario. They used the EMP, they weren't able to get their Zenyatta set up into a good place, which is kind of on Floppy and Papernet for not getting their Zenyatta set up into a good location to get valuable Disco Orbs. The rest of the dive never really came in. I just don't think Luma look good on these sort of dive-based compositions. They don't have the ability to set up a team fight well. When they're in the team fight, yeah, fine, they're great, but they don't set up the best possible engagements so they don't get their Zenyatta into good space, and now they're going on a full 6-man rush composition, and I don't know, who are you going to even isolate here? Who are you going to target? Maybe the Ona? Or even the Sigma? I think those are your best targets right now.
I gotta agree, the Nano's being used, so at least they can kind of move forward with this, but the hack kind of slows them down. They do just want to ignore move out, but Team Haven builds up every ultimate at that time. So look at that Gravitic Flux combined with the Visor. Zooey Mama, as they say, as we just see them slowly get melted down.
Yeah, this team fight is over, and this is not good for Luma. How are they going to set up this next team fight? I mean, they're playing a rush comp. They didn't really get onto a target at all that team fight. They just kind of walked into Haven and all of their sight lines, and it just wasn't good. I think they need to try and isolate the target. So what you can do there is you can set like a wind strip on the high ground, force their movement, and then go onto like a Sigma, for example. You also have a potential hack and a self-destruct combo. That's an option. I think maybe we can watch Paper Nail self-destruct this team fight.
Yep, this is now where they're getting a good dive. Rob almost sends themselves off the map, and it seems that the bomb is going to help clear them out. But this is where Team Haven don't really have any more of a stall, rather kind of a reset. And they're kind of resetting themselves very slowly. Luma does have the opportunity to kind of move this throughout street space without any form of contest, as long as they keep pushing it, because Team Haven have now staggered themselves considerably.
Yeah, this team fight is done. That was a lot better for Luma. They had a little bit more of a setup that fight. They didn't really have a target, which is still critique I have. They didn't really go on to a specific target. They didn't really have a particularly good engagement, but the setup for the team fight was a lot better. So we'll give credit where credit's due, and now they're a little bit closer to that EMP. The problem is their time bank's at a minute 30, right? Even if they do finish them up, their time bank will be at least 2 minutes 20 less than what Team Haven's is.
Yep, so now when moving forward, well, they really have to try to get this time big as fast as possible. I think you at least want to get some form of a tick or at least a minute on the clock. Either way, if you capture this, you'll get that minute, but you want to kind of have this as much as possible. We do see them onto this golf dive, and they look to be able to kind of now have a lot more damage and pressure. This is looking a lot better at least, but honestly, they have to move this payload. They have to take these fights to get the hack onto the Ana, but then they're going to dive the monkey and not really worry too much. They do get a massive amount of damage, and Milker's able to shut it down, but still, Hurt is coming up on the Nano. They do manage to find out, no, Ana just barely, and it's still getting very close. The Bob is the true MVP, managing to kill that Sombra the moment that they build up the EMP, and it's still somewhat of an even fight as they're looking for any type of advantage, but it's 30 seconds on the clock.
Is Booker's going to stay alive here as well? Okay, they are going to keep the Reaper alive. If they can get burst damage onto this instant, then they'll be okay because the EMP engagement with Death Blossom and the Soin Barrier. So that Soin Barrier is going to let them get in, and then the Death Blossom is going to do the damage.
Yep, takes out the person with the visor. No legs in this house, even getting that extra considerable damage. Team Haven now going to be trying to just shut them down as much as possible. The hacks onto the Ana are brutal. Look at that, Hurt has the Nano, has to pop it out very late, which just barely saves out average. But now the B's going to be here to kind of help them out. You're 100% right, Ocean, but how are they going to use that to their favor? They managed to find out Kevin Bacon, and now this is where the rest of the team are coming in. They managed to get in that damage, and they're going to be looking to take them out. Average may be low, but Valora has the bomb, and I think Luma just don't really have not only the respawns, but the team! Although this 6-man EMP might be something that they've been looking for, they now have a good read of ultimate, but they don't get a single pick off of it. Everyone's fine, they're getting healed, they have to use this coalescence as some form of way to just move in, but even then, there's just no focus fire on the side of Luma. This bomb could be massive. It really just used to kind of move them out, but Milkers is gone. They've lost that Reaper who was coming up on the Death Blossom. It's gonna be painful. Kevin Bacon's gone. You have no monkey trying to protect you from the rest of the opponents, and honestly, it's just a slow down trot as we see this visor be what cleans it up, as Luma just barely touched for a little second, but they're gonna be losing it out. Team Haven managing to win on Route 66.
Yeah, and that's important. That's our map pick. Well, you kind of slow things down and think about this series. Luma look poor on that map. Luma's kind of looked a better team so far this series. They look a little bit more intelligent, but maybe not. Maybe I want to take that statement back. I think that map was really poor from them. Realistically, I thought their fight setups were they left a lot to be desired. In my personal way of saying it, I could definitely be a little harsher with that statement. But Luma, let's look at the positive side for them. They are 2-1 and still 2-1 up in this series. They're one map away from winning, and they get 2 map choices. If they lose the next map, they still get a map choice for control, but they will be able to pick our assault map. And I'm just going to tell you right now, if they pick Volskaya, I'm going to lose it. I love Volskaya Industries. I would love to see Volskaya. But if Luma pick it, I will be upset because their dive and their dive setups and just their overall confidence in that composition has not been good enough. Team Haven will win Volskaya if we pick Volskaya. The other 2 maps, I don't mind which one you pick because, I mean, Anubis, you can play a little bit more poke comps, but you can still run Brawl. Honeymoon is the same sort of thing. You can run poke comps, but Brawl is still valid because of the symmetric teleporter strategy. If they pick Volskaya, I might lose it. I genuinely might lose it, user.
Yeah, but here's what I'm gonna say. All right, here's my counterpoint to if they possibly run out on Volskaya. All right, just don't run dive. You just run Brawl. You know, you just say, I don't care the meta. I don't care if it's bad. You just decide to run at it because that's just how my comp games work.
Oh, I hope they don't do that. That would be horrible. If they play like a Brawl one offense against a dive defense of Volskaya, they would lose badly. Anyways, we don't have to worry about that. We don't have to worry about that situation. We're going to Hanamura. So they can run that Brawl offense, especially with the potential teleporter strategy. More poke-based defense is available, or they could, I guess they could Brawl on the defense as well. It depends what they're comfortable with. Luma are the better Brawl team. I think the best gameplay that we've seen so far is just standard Brawl from Luma. We haven't seen anything amazing from either team, but that's probably the best bit of gameplay we've seen. And let's just try and think about what Haven could do on this map to try and maybe force a dive composition. Maybe they run something a little bit more mobile themselves, maybe even run the farm. Because Luma haven't been decisive enough in their fight setups or even in team fight to where I don't know if their Brawl will be able to counter a Pharah. So maybe if they run far, then they force Luma on dive, especially on the defense. For is a pretty good pick on Haven. Yeah, maybe that'll force Luma onto a composition they're not comfortable with.
I'm gonna be honest, you do make a really good point, at least just because Hanamura is a very curious map. It is very popular to that sim TP and kind of strategy, and I think if you can force Luma onto the uncomfortable dive, especially on second point, you definitely secured yourself a map win for Team Haven. But I definitely feel that this is where a map where you could just kind of go brickhead, you can be like the Thing from the Fantastic Four, you just run brawl, it's collaborant time, you just move in.
Yeah, I mean, let's see what these teams run on. I imagine, I don't know what Haven's going to do here, because Haven now has the choice to attack or defend first. Of course, Hanamura is Luma's map pick after they lost the previous map, so I think that's what we're kind of going to expect. I think we're going to see brawl from Luma, especially in their offense. I think Haven's best interest might actually be to attack first. I know I said I prefer defending first earlier, but in this situation, Luma have just lost all momentum in this series, right? Like they were 2-0 up, they were riding the high horse. Now they're in a little bit of trouble in the sense of they probably want to attack first, get a nice teleporter, get a nice timeline, get a snowball going, and then the momentum's back on their side. They can only do that if Luma attack first, right? But if Haven decide to attack first, then Haven could keep the momentum that they have. So I think in this unique situation, I prefer Haven selecting to attack first. We won't find out just yet because I think both teams need a little bit of a break. But User, what do you think on that?
Honestly, I am more in kind of a stasis moment where it's a lot of hypotheticals because we're talking about if or when. And while we do have this side switch, as you can see on the top, that was pretty clean, producers. I just want to say, we have a moment to where, Team Haven, obviously, yes, teleporting, brawl, and all that, but I think the major kind of win condition is all about focus. I think this is really where mentals kind of go in, because Team Haven, they're sitting there, they're like, oh yeah, we've got this, we've won a map, we can bring this back, reverse sweep, let's go! And then Luma, they're sitting there, they're in Mario Galaxy, they're in space, their heads are in the clouds, they're sitting there like, well, we've lost one map, but we're in two. It's only 1 and 2 CP can be one of either the fastest victories or one of the 8-8 victories, And I think it matters down to whoever's mentals go. Because we can talk about team compositions all we want, but we are in the rookie division. And at that moment, I think comfortability works better than practicality.
I think that's a very good point, actually. And Luma did look a little bit rattled in that last map as well. Like, none of their setups went well. Their timing was off on the EMPs. They never got value out of the best ultimate in the game, and that might rattle them a little bit. They might be a little bit confused. Haven, they'll be thinking, oh yeah, we only lost in Bonnie because we lost a player. Right? They might think that. And then they might think they're technically 2-1 up in this series in their mental. So mental-wise, I think Haven probably have a small advantage.
Yeah, I think if you're Team Haven, you're just looking at your teammates and you say, listen, if any of you try to do what I Love Osu did, all right, and you want to DC on us, all right, off the team, all right?
It's gone.
Not
Deleted.
Not this time. Because I think we can agree that was funny, and I Love Osu was doing good, but Wi-Fi makes the difference at times. So as we get these teams ready, and we're getting a second to kind of go into Hanamura, it's going to be kind of a big point to just see how they especially want to stall. I think more than likely, at least from Team Haven, we'll see a lot of Poe, mostly a Torbjorn. That's at least what I'm hoping for, because while it does make the game a little bit more boring, it's a pretty good way to defend.
Yeah, I'm wondering what we're going to see on the defense, because I think we are going to see Haven on the defense. I'm not the biggest fan of that choice right now, but I also am always a fan of defending first, because you get to set your own win condition for yourself when you go on the attack. So that's definitely still positive. I just think that now you gave Luma an opportunity to run their preferred brawl composition and also get a massive time bank on the board, because, of course, Hanamura can be quite a snowbally map. So let's see what happens here.
Yeah, little fun fact, the first ever Overwatch animatic I watched was the Dragons one, which takes place on Hanamura. That's what got me into Overwatch, so, would be nice if we got another cinematic, but I'm only here to complain, alright? That's honestly what my job is as a caster, but we do see this brawl varying it, and I always talk a lot about the sim strategy and how easily counterable it is and kind of how it is. But I want you to give me more of an analytic. How do you see Luma using this to their advantage?
Well, see, I actually see that Haven are running the Honor here. Honestly, they can't just TP straight point. Like, compositional matchup-wise, they can TP straight point, get the Symmetry turrets up, and Team Haven will not be able to walk in. And if they do, they don't have a Baptiste Immortality Field or even just a Baptiste with Regen Burst to help them right here. Just the fact that Team Haven are on Honor on this defense gives Luma a lot of leeway to the fact that you just TP to point. Right, that could be it. But what Haven could do, on the contrary, is while this open space is kind of being utilized at the choke, that's where the Honor is going to have a little bit more advantage than the Baptiste, because the Baptiste is going to want to save Immortality Field, Regen Burst until they TP to point. If Team Haven go early before the TP is set up where the TP has happened, so they've actually teleported to point, they might be able to catch a player right, and that could give Team Haven an advantage. So they'll have a small advantage for a very small period of time before the TP goes out. But after that, I think Luma have a bit of a compositional advantage with their TP strategy.
Yeah, I think it works out a lot more, even if we got this quick pause where it's like them holding a knife to us, just like, you have to wait a little longer to see how this works. I think this is kind of a bit more favorable. The Mei is an amazing hero to play, especially on Hanamura, and I do think while Dave or the Cowboy hero is pretty good, at least when it comes to this mid-range, which is how Hanamura works, I think when it comes to consistency, it's not going to work as well as a Symmetra, who not only is going to be able to kind of put a lot of pressure, damage, and fear into your Reinhardt, but, you know, the teleporter, the melting wave, if you're not predicting the sim TP and you're not trying to play around it, then you're not going to be able to beat it. At least that's kind of my main guess.
Yeah, I'm really concerned about this Honor pick. I feel like Luma will get to point. I don't know if Team Haven has the sort of intelligence to go, okay, we're playing the Honor here. We need to make an early engagement. They TP to point. We don't have a Baptiste, and our Reinhardt's going to have a lot less resources. I don't think they have that, and that tells me that Luma are going to get onto the point. They are going to win this first team fight, and then from there, we have to kind of guess, what ultimates do they have? Are they going to get the snowball going? If they do, then I think Haven are a lot of trouble, and this series could just go away.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, for me, every time I see a sim TP strategy, I always kind of complain. I'm very much a grumpy guy, I wake up, I put my shoes on backwards. That's how angry I am sometimes. And my big fear about having the sim strategy, because it's so popular, I think that it's very easy to kind of play against, especially a team who decide to go the kind of Eggman route where you just go round face and you decide, I want to teleport directly onto the point where the Reinhardt is standing. The Mei already has their Mei wall to kind of wall me off the moment I teleport in. The Diva's already eating up my damage to Junkrat, whatever. It's really easy to break, and I think it's all about consistency when you're trying to do it. You switch it up. There's teleporters that you can do everywhere. If you want to be rude and kind of sneaky, you can teleport into like the right side of the room, rotate up, teleport again, then go on point, or you can just teleport to the top high ground house, which somehow people figured out how to get to, and then, go rotate behind them. You can teleport even on top of the big, I don't know what those are called. It's like the lower, it's like the under roof of the roof. You know what I mean, all right? They could teleport there and drop down on them. There's a lot of strategies that go with the sim, but I feel like because of the fact that it's been used so much, and every variation has been figured out, that if you're smart enough, and every team scrims it, you can play against it very easily.
I mean, yeah, definitely. I think the key for Luma is to force a brawl. Now, both teams are on brawl compositions, so why do they want to force the brawl more? It's because the Reinhardt's going to have more resources, and up close and personal, where the Reinhardt can do damage, that is where their team is going to get more value. So if they can teleport to a way that they force a brawl and get up close and personal, Luma will win the team fight. So that's exactly what they're going to be looking to do. Team Haven, they want to take a little bit more patient. You can play a brawl competition more patient, and they will only want to brawl when it suits them. Maybe when they have a nano boost, or when their Cowboy has done a lot of damage, then that might be the way to play.
I didn't even think about that. Honestly, my idea of the reason why you want to run brawl and why they really just want to kind of go head first is because you sit there and you say, guys, focus this target. If you don't give me healing, you're throwing. It's a very simple composition. I think that's why a lot of teams tend to run, because there's nothing you need to worry about besides from the fact of what the enemy team is doing. But this is where we finally get to see what they're planning to go and how Milkers wants to set up this TP.
Yeah, let's see. I think they do want to go straight point. I think they'll see the honor and then they'll go straight point.
Yeah,
No,
look,
I'll know a high ground.
hey, full respect, Team Haven made amazing rotation to kind of play against this, so they were already prepared. But this Maywall has set this up. Average just does not get enough heal or anything. They don't have an immortality to be able to save them. So Milkers is getting so much value when it comes to shutting them down. They can stall as much as they want and may somehow get stuck on the bell with their own Maywall. I don't know how that's possible, but hey, I've yet to see everything when it comes to Overwatch.
Right, let's talk about it. So, Reinhardt, they got to force the brawl, Luma, right? You saw that Jay the Average went down early because they were at a disadvantage when it came to resources in the Ryan v Ryan. Look at the own charge as well, 15% to 58%. And look at the flex supports. Yogurt having to make the swap over to the Baptiste, having to make that adjustment. Is that adjustment too late though? Because Luma mid-fight will have a photon barrier. And they also will probably build up to an Earth Shatter and Amp Matrix. Haven will have nothing this next game.
Oh, I definitely agree. They are going to be moving out. They take a nice rotation, and Luma, they get hit with a major amount of damage. But this is why you're in the Symmetra. You are high beam, you throw out your wall, and you are just consistently putting in the damage. Even without your Reinhardt, what are you going to do? What are you going to do against the beam?
I mean, you could try and kill her, but they're doing 190 damage per second. Got a Sim turret there and spawn, so it's going to be really hard to recontest. Oh no, Jay, the average got sandwiched.
Oh, it sucks. You flush your Baptiste. They have 2 ticks. They use the sound barrier, and now they're moving forward. They have amazing focus fire right now. They have cranked it up to 11, as not only do they take that mech immediately out, but they've already set up the next Maywall to stop anyone from moving in. They don't have any allies. The Tracer's really the only person trying to be there, but even they get picked off. And at the time, make them 5 minutes and 7 seconds. If you could have brought it back in any way, this is how you do it.
Oh, it took 1 minute and 53 seconds, that round.
Did you count it?
What? Yeah, 1 minute 53 seconds, yes, from 7 minutes, yeah.
I'm gonna be honest with you, I forget a lot, you know?
Yeah, 1 minute 53 seconds. But you know what? I think now it's the time to criticize the decision from Haven to defend first, because Luma are the better brawl team. You gave the opportunity for Luma to get some momentum back in this series, and they have. 1 minute 53 seconds to capture both points at Hanamura. It is a very short time. I think also the decision on the Honor instead of the Baptiste was, let's put it politely, stupid. It was a very silly decision. Like, you don't, if you know Luma are going to brawl because they picked this map, then you don't play the Honor though. You don't. If you want to play more poke-based composition, maybe you want like a Wrecking Ball, you can play a Zen or an Honor, sure. But if you're going to play brawl in that situation, and Luma are going to want to force a brawl 1 point, and you don't play Baptiste there, that's just silly.
I agree. I mean, like, there is a reason why you run the Ana, or at least to, like, because I'm a plat player. I'll be real with you. So, tuning into my plat mind, where I sit there and think about all the decisions that my team does wrong, the Ana is used for the anti-grenades, the sleep darts, which are high utility, but it doesn't save you compared to an immortality, which is one of the most, if not the most broken ability in the game. So while Haven don't want to run out with a Symmetra, they're using that Pharaoh, which may help them, but it'll take a long time.
Well, this is better because it's forcing Luma to play fast, and if they don't play fast, Luma will probably opt to switch on to a dive composition which they're not comfortable with.
Hey, you make a very good point that I didn't even think about. Because look, now they're able to get it. That wall manages to just barely save out Average, and they've now lost Milo. That's not looking good. Without the Baptiste, they don't have an immortality, so this is where we see Haven wanting to move forward. We see Luma wanting to back up. They want to give that space. The res comes, and it's now a 6v5, and they're at a major disadvantage without this consistent healing. But look at that. Kevin Bacon's not going to be able to do anything. The Diva left and try to put pressure onto the bar. They do manage to find out Jug, and using the High Noon very aggressively takes out 2! You gotta give props. Milkers milking every type of victory, forcing the reset to the enemy team.
That's the big Milkers right there. That's a milk play I've ever seen. Alright, Luma. How do they set up for this next team fight? They know they're against the foreigner. Knowing is half the battle. Now they know they need to find a target, potentially Yogurt or Jay the Average, and they need to walk onto the fast. But I think they're going for a different approach, where they're just going to find out, try and force the player out of position, and then go for that brawl. I think that's okay, as long as you don't take too much spam damage from the foreigner.
I do like this kind of idea that Maywall just barely misses out, but look on the bright side. Never mind, there is no bright side. I was going to say that they have to take angles, but it doesn't seem they need to. They just use the nano, they get those 2 initial picks, and then they just go brain dead. They go stupid. They go and start taking out the entirety of your team.
Yeah. Alright, okay. Let's finish this team fight here, man. Just gonna wipe out these couple of kills. They're gonna have ultimates for the next team fight as well. They're gonna have that Reinhardt ultimate. They're gonna have the Mercy Valkyrie. That's gonna be awesome because that's gonna enable their tanks to get in. It's gonna enable their DPS to have more flexible positioning. And when you have that Deni, that Valkyrie can set it up really well. Luma, on the other side of things, they need to play quicker. They have the Sound Barrier and the Blizzard to do that. So they can Sound Barrier, nice quick engagement. The team fight so time to go for the Blizzard. That would be an idea. Because I think Luma needs to be the ones taking the initiative here. Otherwise, Team Heaven are probably going to win this team fight. It might take a while just because of respawns and just because of the competition Team Heaven are running. But I think if Luma don't take the initiative here with their ultimates, they might be in a little bit of trouble.
I'm not gonna lie, the Pharah is kind of infinitely weaker when it comes to second point, and they decide to just jump down. Look at that, your Pharah's gonna be popped out, the Blizzard gets in, that's exactly what you need to happen. That bomb is not gonna be able to help much, and Pelora is managed to get more value out of it, and they're able to start getting fixed, even using that high noon. This is where Luma wants to try to get some staggers and use their ultimates to see the best of their advantage. Using that wind on the high ground does help a lot, but they have the high noon, though they are dangerously low, managing to just finish out the Reinhardt. There's only 2 people there, and I've gotta say, that was a little scary for Luma, because that could have gone either way.
Yeah, I think they got to get off the Pharah now, and that means that they're going to have to force themselves to play into a Brawl v Brawl. They could go to an Echo maybe, or an Hanzo and try and steal a Pope. But they're going to stick with the Pharah for now. This is an interesting choice. I think that there's still validity just because of how the series is went on. Usually I would say a 4 on might be Honomara, I'd be screaming. Did this in my ranked game, I would be screaming until the cards came out. Luma also still have a lot of their more important ultimates. They have the Deadeye to try and shut down the 4 if they're playing a little bit more aggressive in the air, which they probably will because they're looking to set up a dive on the high ground. Mokers will probably will do select that kill. And then also Robbie has the Sound Barrier, they need it defensively.
Yeah, I do like how the Pharah is set up because now they're really worried with what's happening. I mean, they do take this rotation. They pop with the high noon and move forward. This Reinhardt has to hold up the shield, but they rotate out. It really doesn't do too much rather than forcing them into this corner where the Maywall can get value, but the Shatter's the one that tries to help out. Although the Mays, they're just hitting you with some freezing blast and, you know, it finishes you off even if the Mercy can get a kill.
Yeah, okay, so let's think about this now. How is this Pharah gonna get value? They have the barrage. This is probably, if the Pharah's gonna get value, it'll be this team fight. Because Hookers just really have like an instant shutdown, like a Deadeye. The problem is you still gotta deal with Maywall, a Cowboy, a defense matrix, and a vitality field. I just don't see how that you're gonna get value out of this Pharah unless you do a lot of damage from a Pharah, and then the rest of your team comes out and gets those kills, and then you can use that barrage. I just don't see how this is gonna work out well.
Yeah, they try to move forward, and that window's in a beautiful position, not only taking out Jog, but anyone who tries to move in, well, this is just an array of bullets. There is no barrage DPS thing that you can do to kind of move past.
Okay, it's time to talk positively about Luma as they go for another proactive engagement. Exactly what I was about to talk about. This team fight's finished, right? Like, they can't really take any more kills. Luma and Team Haven can't really engage. Anyway, so the proactive style that Luma are playing on this defense, it's exactly how you need to play against the Pharah. You can play a Brawl comp and use it as a rush. You can rush from a Brawl comp, and that's brilliant because that means you can walk onto targets that aren't the Pharah, kill them, and then the Pharah essentially can't do nothing, right? And the faster you're playing, the faster you're rotating, the less value that Pharah is going to get damage-wise, barrage-wise, whatever. Pharah is really bad against fast-paced team fights or in fast-paced team fights, and that's exactly what Luma are forcing right now.
Yeah, look at that. The Blizzard's going to be in on the engagement, but the Pharah dies the moment the barrage gets used. Rob also isn't able to use that high noon. They're going to be punished for it while the rest of the team are just not going to be able to do much. Luma are looking completely different. Even if Joe Average manages to get this, you just sound so happy to see them doing this so effectively.
Yeah, proactive role is pretty good in Tafara, but like a non-proactive role is really bad in Tafara, and that's sometimes gets really hard to explain. And Luma playing a really proactive role right now forces Tafara so with only a minute left. Essentially, right, Luma could just force this into overtime because they got the Deadeye and the Sound Barrier, which are really good stalling ultimates, and then essentially Team Haven can't even win this map.
Yep, now this is where they want to be trying to do their best to do anything. They decide to take the underneath rotation, which is not only aggressively long, but you've given up the high ground, which is going to be an issue because Milkers is now set up to be able to use this high noon in a very good position. Even gets that immortality. The Divas run out of DM and you solo shatter it! The Sound Mayor's there to peel out. You're being incredibly rude and you get punished for it. Who looks like the Joker now? Because we see the entirety of Luma. They have a Blizzard, they have ultimates, they're going to be able to defend. It's less than a minute. You're able to get the res out, but to what favor? As long as the main manages to get out this Blizzard, they're fine and they are being able to live. It's really only 3 people on the point to try to do this as much as they can. You do manage to get out the May before anything can happen, but the Tracer comes in managing to help things out. Same with Milo, it's really just a stall favor, but this is 2ZP. I don't think I've ever seen a moment to where any type of attack inside you can bring it back. It's just not in your favor. It was not coded as we managed to see. Luma, they managed to win out 3-1.
Yeah, I think Haven have themselves to blame. That the pick to defend first was not optimal. I think the pick to play the far was fine until they got to point B. After the first fight at point B, they should have got off that far. No matter what, I don't care if they had an ultimate. I don't remember if they had an ultimate, but that honestly doesn't matter to me. Like, that doesn't matter, right? You get off the far. It wasn't going to work because Luma had switched to this proactive style, and also you allowed them to get that time. Like, by letting them attack first and get momentum back in the series, you kind of throw away the series. Yeah, Luma played great on that last map. I loved the proactive play that we saw from them. I didn't like the proactive Blizzards, but and that's why they were eaten. But we could talk about that another day, potentially when we get to see Luma next time. But Luma, they adjusted well on the final map. Yeah, they were pretty poor on the Bonnie, pretty poor on 66. Who cares? They won 3-1. They moved to a 3-0 record, and they're looking at a really good spot here in GitGud Season 8.
Yeah, I definitely gotta say, they looked a lot better when they ran this brawl, but in the future, especially when you're moving forward in these divisions, everyone is going to look to abuse those small individual factors, and I think you've got to work on them if you're the side of Luma. Well, Haven, they have a lot of things to work on already. I don't think they're necessarily a bad team, but they have questionable decision-making, which could obviously be fixed in a day or so if they kind of sit down, they focus, and they feel confident in what they do. Because Luma very much were the weaker team when it came to, dive, or when it came to quick decision making, while Haven struggled on just consistency, and that's kind of what struggled them throughout the entirety of the game.
Yeah, I feel like Luma's dive was really poor, and they've got to patch that if they go higher up the divisions, and even later in the season, right? If we see like a grand final, which is the first of 4, and you can't play dive, and eventually you'll just be taking the 3 or 4 dive maps, then you're in trouble, right? But honestly, their proactive style and their adjustments was fine. They've got a pretty good base. They can work off of that base. They'll be in a really good spot to win this GitGud rookie season. Team Haven, they've got a lot to work on as well. They adjusted well over the course of the series as well. And I think they have a team that our team will definitely see a lot more of. They're 1-2 right now, Lumini 3-0, but I think Haven will probably still finish with a positive record.
Yeah, I think there's a lot more to look in for these teams, and so far the rookie division has not disappointed us. I gotta say, it was really interesting. It was a lot of fun to kind of see how they were working, how things were doing. And before we really go, I want to show you guys some Kree stats right now. Let's bring it up on the screen, because these Krees, they were kind of hit or miss. More exactly, we're gonna be seeing Milkers, who played absolutely phenomenal when it came to that last move.
Yeah, I mean, let's talk about the critical hit accuracy at 9%. I think usually for Cowboy at this rank, you'd probably be expecting around 6 to 7% on the critical hit accuracy, so a little bit higher there, so a little bit better. And yeah, good damage done per 10. I would be quite happy with Milker's performance on Hanamura. And yeah, I felt honestly Luma did a really good job as a team on Hanamura. I think Milker's was a big benefit of that. Obviously, that double dead eye on point A helped them a lot, so well done there. But I still think Team Haven should have attacked first. I think Luma picking Hanamura was great so that they can roll and they can get their fast time back, but I think Team Haven made a lot of mistakes there. But to be fair to Luma, they won the map, they played off with those mistakes, and Milkers was a big benefactor of that.
Yeah, I definitely agree. For a rookie division, at least, those critical hit accuracy, it was a bit above normal, at least I would say, but I'm a support slash DPS, so I don't, well, not DPS, tank, so I don't really get good at hit accuracy, so I'm trusting you on that, and I definitely agree with kind of going on to the attacking side. I think it's a lot of things to kind of focus on and look at, and I do think Milkers at least got to feel proud from those stats, because that means you have a lot of potential to move forward. You're doing well in the rookie, but as you continue going, you're only going to get better and better, so that's only going to get higher and higher. But that's pretty much where we leave for at least match 1, because we do have another match leading right after this. So honestly, if you're still interested in what's going on, you can hit that heart if you decide to go away for a bit, so you'll still be followed. You can hit the notification because we'll let you know when it's ready. But either way, stay tuned as we're going to be getting ready for match 2 of GGEU.
running your way, but you push me away. Your lifeline, losing your mind. I'm here for you, babe. I've loved you the same this whole time. So tell me, what's on your mind? And I'm not here to hear you say you're fine. I can take the pain you hold inside. I wanna know, wanna see it. Can I feel your kryptonite? Can't get this off my mind. Does it only control you? Let me in, I'll help you out. I won't lose you this time. Can I feel your kryptonite? Can I feel your kryptonite? You think you're too far, but I'm where you are, you know. I said I won't leave your side. They left you bare, but I'm begging you, stare in my eyes. For you, yeah, I give my life. And I'm not here to hear you say you're fine. I can take the pain you hold inside. I wanna know, wanna see it. Can I feel your kryptonite? Can't get this off my mind. Does it only control you? Let me in, I'll help you out. I won't lose you this time. Can I feel your kryptonite? Can I feel your kryptonite? I wanna know, wanna see it. Can I feel your kryptonite? I'm here to hear you say you're fine. I wanna know, wanna see it. Can I feel your kryptonite? Can't get this off my mind. Does it only control you? Let me in, I'll help you out. I won't lose you this time.
One more wine, one more whiskey, and we just kept the car in park and dim the headlights so we see the stars. Let them tell us where we should start. And I'm scared as hell because there's no way to know how this goes. But I can't help but say I promise to give you my all. But it might break me. It might break me, break me. It might break me, break me. It might break me down. I won't let you down. But it might break me, break me. It might break me, break me. It might break me down. It might break me. It might break me. It might break me. It might break me down. But it might break me. It might break me. It might break me. It might break me down. But it might break me. The sight of you, it makes me dizzy. And when you're gone, I miss your face. Tonight I'll meet you in our favorite place. And just can't let this wait one more day. But I'm scared as hell, and there's just no way to know how this goes. And I can't help but say, trusting why you are so beautiful. But it might break me. It
Welcome back, or welcome to GGEU. We are rocking with the second week. We just recently, or just a second ago, whatever kind of fraction, because it's technically the same word. Either way, don't want to waste your time, because we're here right now with the Advanced Division with Houston Heel Slugs versus the 2 Easy Cosmos. And honestly, I've got to say, it's a bit more interesting to see these names. They're both kind of a long full, at least for me. And who am I? Because you don't really properly see who the casters are just yet. But that's because we want to give a little surprise. I'm username_Intel, your play-by-play caster, and the beautiful person next to me is Ocean. How are you doing today?
Do you know what? I think that's the nicest compliment I've ever been given. So thank you very much. Let's talk about these two teams, right? Because both of these teams are in the advanced division of GitGud EU. They are both unbeaten so far with a 2-0 record. And today they will face off. I was just kind of looking at the teams and what heroes they prefer to play. I already have a favourite team, I'm not going to lie. I'm rooting for the Houston Heel Slugs. They have got a team that kind of prefers dive-based compositions, and that makes me very happy. And 2 Easy Cosmos on the other side of things tend to prefer brawl comps.
Oh, I definitely agree. It can be something kind of interesting, especially because I think Brawl very much is a kind of head-forward composition, while Dive is more of just kind of more analytical, kind of got to figure out what factors you want to go to. So if we see like a Brawl v Brawl, it's definitely going to be kind of a slugfest of seeing who gets more value out of it.
Yeah, I think what's going to be interesting, right? I think it is going to be Dive versus Brawl. Dive, on paper, and should, theoretically, if everything goes right, in practice should also have a massive advantage over Brawl. What brawl compositions can do against that is force little team fights in smaller rooms where they can brawl. And the reason that advantage is there is because Winston's taser has a range of 16 meters, I believe, whereas Reinhardt's hammer is 12, something like that, something around that length. So Winston's taser can have a better effect a little bit further away than Reinhardt's hammer can start hitting you and doing damage. So that means Winston can be a little bit more calculated in their approach, get a little more main tank charge, and then make the engagement into that small room when they're ready. They can have a tracer, say, on the left-hand side of that room, and they can go together, and then that brawl can kind of fall apart because of the different areas that the dive is coming from. If you play dive and you just go straight forward, unless you're like the Somber Reaper, like Blackout Brawl or Rush composition, otherwise known as 6-man, then that's not the best way to take this dive approach against Brawl.
Yeah, definitely agree. Brawl is, as I said, and I think when it comes down to the Brawl fundamentals, it's very much team-focused coordination, everything that you said and above, and I think at an equal skill level when it comes to the advanced, what makes the difference to you?
Main tanks, really. I think I've watched a lot of GitGud seasons. I think every GitGud season since like season 5. This is now season 8. Season 5, 6. I missed out on 7. So this is my first GitGud season. I'll tell you what, the main tanks make a lot of difference in advanced and above. Because again, even at the highest level of GitGud, you're not going to see the best level of play. But the more confident main tanks and the more main tanks that are confident in what resources they have and what resources they need, because that's a different thing. What resources do you have? Okay, we can give a nano to you, but do you need that nano? That sort of thing is where Winston's and in particular different main tank heroes and players get the advantage.
Yeah, I definitely agree. It's kind of that sentiment because our first map is going to be on Lijiang Tower, and I think more than anything, that is all about team coordination and your Reinhardt being able to stay alive. Because I think once your Reinhardt dies on those kind of maps, especially if you run a Reinhardt, then you've lost it. Even if you try to go a dive, if your monkey dies, your D.Va can take it over, your DPS can pop something out. But without Reinhardt, you have a lot missing from your team.
Yeah, you do. We'll see what these teams do on Lijiang. I think a lot of this will end up being Brawl, although we could see rush-based compositions on Night Market. And Garden as well. Garden is a composition that's very well known for that six-man composition, or you also could call it Blackout Brawl. Just a little variant of this Somber Tracer / Somber Reaper, D.Va, Winston, Lucia, Moira comp. We've seen a lot on Lijiang Garden in the past, so that's something we could see there. I would probably prefer to see that from the Heel Slugs, so we'll see if they run that there. But I expect a lot of Winston-based compositions from them on Garden, or maybe even wall-based compositions. But for the other two maps, I think both teams will probably default to Reinhardt.
Yeah, I definitely agree. It's just the fundamental. It's what works out best. And well, I really don't know what kind of else to say because I think Reinhardt fundamentally is a just simple hero, and Lijiang Tower is a simple map. It's everybody's favorite, or at least the mass majority. It's what people like to run, and unless you're kind of prioritizing playing different compositions, that's what you're focusing on when you want to play Lijiang Tower. Like, unless you go out to Gardens where it's big open, and then you can kind of play teleporting strategies, and you can try to mess with the opponents. And wow, speak of the devil.
This could be interesting. We're going to go Leisure Garden. I think Heel Subs will be happy with this because this is more of a dive-based map. You can run Brawl here, obviously. I think a lot of this is going to be who takes control of kind of the pillar on the side of the map, more near the Mega Health Pack. That's probably where you want to play. Both teams going to be showing that kind of 6-man composition, but I think Houston Heel Subs are going to, I think they're going to run the Tracer variant, okay? So the Tracer variant compared to the Reaper variant, what you'll see that in the 6-man composition, called it, that was quite good from me. What you're going to see there is you're actually going to see Tracer put a lot of pressure on the Moira in particular and the Diva, taking away Matrix from your Reaper or your Sombra or whatever, so that they can have to play a little less aggressive. So watch out for Bank Ball and who their target is sort of like. It'll probably be either Misfit or it'll be Silence. So let's watch out for that.
Yep, look at that. They're already moving in. Both of these compositions are very much the same fundamentally, walking out, using their bubbles, using their bubbles as kind of just a disdain, but it looks like Misfire is going to be the one found out. Both of these Moiras are picked off early, so it's the next one that's going to be found is Micro Fan. That's going to be a big issue for Houston, but it seems that they're able to trade out by finding the Monkey. Both of this fight is incredibly sloppy, but it's about who's going to get the majority of these picks. Cosmos still have control over the majority of the point, but Houston's are the one who are getting the picks, and that's how they're going to be able to clean up this fight.
So actually this composition, or these like standard basic compositions, these rush comps, what we call the Blackout Brawl, and this is actually like the composition, like I actually kind of got my major start in casting. When this composition like was like the meta, that's where I like started casting Contenders Trials and stuff. So let's focus on the Sound Barriers and the EMPs. This is what I'd like to call the EMP war. Is that Sound Barrier going to be online for EMP and is it going to be used defensively against it, or can they could get that Lucio hidden away? And who's going to build their EMP quicker? Both teams 90 on EMP. The problem is Skrillin is nowhere near that Sound Barrier. Cuddles might be able to build up to that Sound Barrier and avoid the EMP and actually use it as a defensive ultimate.
Yep, it's all about who's going to move first, and interestingly enough, the Sound Barrier manages to fall off the map, so honestly, Cosmos, they have no room to even try to move in. If that Pulse Bomb even missed, well, at least they have a good reset.
Yeah, and they don't even have to use the EMP, which means, again, another fight where the Heel Slugs will have an advantage, right? Because they can hide their Lucio off. They don't need that major healing at the moment. So they can hide off their Lucio, which means Asperger's EMP is going to be harder to set up. Additionally, they can use their EMP first and then Sound Barrier in.
Yep, that bomb combined with the ability able to find a Micro Fan, and the Moira's going to fall off the map. It's an amazing early engagement as they start to clean everything else up. That Monkey not going to be able to touch their own spawn doors.
Honestly, Cuddles, she seems to be the best player in LB4 so far. He also has been setting the tempo so far, and that's usually up to your Lucio and your Winston. They've been absolutely excellent and avoided the EMP and getting that Sound Barrier off so they can make the most of their own EMP was absolutely awesome. Great Lucio play there.
Yep, although Cosmos, they do have the opportunity to move in. They use this Coalescence, are able to take out Vaughn. So now this is really where they want to move in, using their Primal Rage as a kind of investment, and they're honestly having some good engagements as nobody on the side of Houston is really able to kind of find anything. The Death Blossom from Micro is also kind of a good insurance way, so while this point does manage to hit into the 98%, it is going to be captured.
Yeah, that's something starting now. Let's talk about these ultimates, right? Because two easy Cosmos, have now moved into the range where they're going to have that Sound Barrier online. And they actually probably will have the Sound Barrier online when the EMP war is about to happen, because both teams are around 60-70 on EMP, so they'll probably happen in the same team fight. The ultimate to watch out for is that Death Blossom near the end of the fight.
Yep, this is going to be the worrying part. They do lose their Diva Mech. That Pulse Bomb is absolutely massive. They jump in the air, but the instant damage they manage to pop out is going to help take out the Monkey. However, it does seem that Cosmos, they're still the advantage. The Death Blossom being the security. Everybody's just trying to move away. They're a little bit too scared, and it seems that Houston just aren't going to be able to do anything besides from reset. Maybe another plan B and an EMP.
Oh, they still have the two critical ultimates. I mean, realistically, this might come down to if Skillrun gets... Skrillin, gets caught in the EMP, then that of course that Lucio, having the Sunbarriers is going to make a difference. Also, both teams have Coalescence, so if we can hack the Moira out of Coalescence, that's a big value. Eyes on all the Sombras here. There's a Chef and also Aspergin, the two players to watch out for in this match.
Yep, look at that. That's a massive EMP. That's going to allow them to move forward. They may have lost their Sombra, but the Coalescence is an insurance that allows them to move forward. However, we do see Houston starting to pop out variants of their own. The EMP, while missed, they able to pop out Coalescence, a primal of their own, giving them not only the movement and security, but the ability to kind of take down the entirety of Cosmos. So now it is going to be one big, long, stalled fight to see if Cosmos can even touch to stall this out.
Cosmo can touch Aspergin over to the Tracer. It seems like they don't have a Sombra though. So this is a longer team fight. That's not going to help them whatsoever. Yeah, the Tracer can touch for 9, but they lose the benefit of having the Sombra.
I definitely agree. Look at this. They're moving in. Micro wants to try to find anybody that they can, but it seems that Houston have full control when it comes to this point. They also have ultimates and defensive ultimates in their back pocket as they're being able to not only take out the Reaper, but now the Monkey's not going to be able to let the Diva really the last person to try to do anything, and the Lucio's hack. So it's just hurting a lot more and more as they're just not going to be able to do anything. They have nobody who can even touch, as we see the Houston Heal Slugs manage to take out the first point.
So what are the other differences in the Reaper and the Tracer variants of this 6-man rush competition? Just while we talk about how that last round was. Well, the Reaper is obviously better at close range than the Tracer is, right? So if you get force those brawl opportunities with the rush comp, then of course, you know, the Reaper's gonna get more value. What else does the Tracer do compared to the Reaper? Well, in the Tracer versus the Reaper variant, now this is really interesting. If you lose the first player in that composition, and it's say you're running the Tracer variant, you still have a 27% chance of bringing that team back. But if you lose the Reaper, or if you're running the Reaper variant and you lose the first player, you only have a 16% chance, roughly. I made those numbers myself after Open Division. Well, what was it, Open Division Season 5 last year? I made those numbers based on, you know, what teams are playing and on how that worked. So yeah, those are pretty accurate statistics of how that happened. So Tracer, if they lose the Tracer variant, if they lose a player first, can actually bring it back.
Yeah, I am a bit more surprised to not just see the flat-out brawl. The Wrecking Ball composition is not something very often used on the Lijiang Tower, but look, it works. They take out the Junkrat, so now Cosmos, they are completely split from their team, having to use that teleporter to get together, but the boop kill is absolutely magnificent, getting two people and forcing them to split up.
Yeah, honestly, Spar's going to get a lot of value, right? Because they were playing the Junkrat poke-based. It's a brawl, but it has a lot of poke based on the fact that you think your opponents are also going to go into that server room and you're going to try and build up that red tower extremely quickly. The Pharah usually doesn't get value on control center, but against that composition, it's a brawl composition that doesn't have the ability to rush, it doesn't have the ability to play fast, and that's why the Pharah is so good. And that's why Chef has already got that brawl right now.
Yep, they're just looking for anyone on the side of Houston to be found out, because this barrage is set. Although they aren't able to pop it out because they get focused, it makes enough of a distraction to where the Houston, they're able to start putting pressure. I mean, your support line is gone, but the Diva comes in, manages to peel in, the Mercy's gonna be able to res, and honestly, they seem pretty fine. How does Cosmos go against this?
Scarlett is really not impressed me so far. I'm not gonna lie. 42% to the sound barrier when you're taking that much damage. Like, you're certainly gonna be able to get a little bit more healing and build up your ultimate a little bit quicker. I do like the changes. I do like Miko fan. They are going over to the Echo, and that's gonna be awesome as well because you have a little bit more of an option to deal with Pharah as well as Silence, and Mystic could do the job as well, but they also still have to deal with this barrage. So watch Silence.
Oh, that barrage is absolutely good because it helps lower down the McCree who was using that window to pump in the damage. The Diva's mech is just not enough, even with the DM. Although we do see Cosmos now have full control as they're kind of contesting the points. Pharah trying to do as much as they can to kind of do anything. They even get the Nano just to be able to sustain throughout it to res. The Wrecking Ball able to help out. Cosmos are just struggling to stay alive at this point.
Yeah, Cosmos, that was a really good Nano actually from Houston Heal Slugs. Because the Pharah is taking a lot of the resources, right? Maybe a little bit more than they need. But with the Nano boost, that extra resource, yeah, it's funnily enough, like, they actually overdoing with resources, but if they overdo it even more, the Pharah is able to get a little bit more value, and then it's actually all worth it. And that means all the resources they expended on the Pharah that fight ended up being worth it after that Nano boost. Oh!
No, it didn't stick! That was a ping difference. I definitely heard it and saw it. So now this is where we try to see Houston do what they can to kind of stop them from touching the mines are placed on the point, stopping anyone's gonna be able to find out the counter wrecking ball while that Diva Bomb goes sky high. It seems they are able to escape. This is favor into Cosmos, but they have this barrage managing not to save up the Mercy when the Tracer is able to kind of help them. Hey, they seem to demech the Diva while losing their Pharah on the end, but that's not really a big issue as the entirety of Cosmos don't have anyone to touch anymore. And we're going to be seeing Houston Slugs, especially on that last point, impressively went out on Lijiang Tower.
Honestly, you can tell the Houston Heal Slugs DPS their bunch of saves. They saw the Mercy off the map and they both, like, they were like, I'm gonna go help you, Queen. That was pretty pathetic. Come on, I mean, it's about I'm just making fun of you, so I'm having a laugh. Yeah, it was an also a piece of play from the far on the Tracer to actually go over and help their Mercy out there. And yeah, honestly, the far ended up working because I think they knew that their opponents were going to come up on the slower brawl composition with the Junkrat, where you're going to be playing a little bit more patient, spamming the chokes a little bit more. And yeah, I think that was a really good compositional matchup. I think the Tracer was a slightly better pick on Garden because it's a bit more open. You have a lot more flank routes. And also Garden can get a little bit messy. And if you lose a character, you still have a better chance of winning that team fight with the Tracer variant over the Reaper variant. So I actually really like this Heal Slugs team. I think their compositional selections have been really, really good. I think their play has been really good. They have a lot of identity. So well done to them.
Yeah, honestly, I'm a bit more shocked to kind of see how well the Wrecking Ball composition ran out. Because to me, at least fundamentally, I often... if I see a composition that I don't fully understand, I don't fully agree with it. I'm scared of the unknown. So to me, when I saw the brawl on a map where I'm very used to it, I thought, oh, they'll just make rotations. They'll be fine. But Houston did an amazing job of taking proactive fights and making sure that their DPS could solidify any type of damage and kills, that it helped them out so much in the end. And honestly, it leaves me at a loss for words because I think Cosmos, the longer it went on, they continued to start struggling and they couldn't kind of finish things out. Like, let's just talk about the Pharah stats for a second. They were absolutely amazing. Because,
yeah,
look at this.
This is a lot. This is a lot. Look at that damage for 10. 17.5k? Wow.
I'm more impressed that's 9 eliminations. I mean, they did their job as Pharah. Rather than kills confirmation, they set their Tracer up to get those kills. They set the team up to do it. But 17k damage on literally everyone is completely rude. I think most of that's on the Reinhardt who's trying to play the game.
I just think that's a lot of damage. That is a lot. So maybe Silence could have done a better damage or a better job of eating some of that damage. Maybe they could have done a better job of having faster rotations. Like, yeah, Chef played that extremely well, right? Honestly, that was a brilliant team fight from Chef, or even a round from Chef, sorry, on Control Center. But even if they're playing well, they should not get that much damage. They really shouldn't. Anyways, we're going to King's Row next. And it looks like TET Cosmos, they are the Brawl team. They like to play a lot more Brawl. So that, I guess, this pick does favor them. The problem is, we have seen like compositions like the Bubble, Ball Diva. We've seen a little bit more variation on King's Row over the past couple of months. And I wonder if that might throw TET Cosmos off guard. Because they're probably expecting a Brawl Mirror matchup here.
You know, I definitely gotta say I agree. King's Row very much is the type of map where you just run it down main, you run it hard, and you try to beat the other team. But I definitely feel like, at least when it comes to this SR range, we've seen some Wrecking Ball being run. We've seen different variations and type of, like, breaking it, and they've worked to perfection. And so I'm more kind of not scared of how Houston are going to go up. I'm scared of what they might run.
I'm intrigued, right? I want to see what they run it, because I already said I kind of had a favorite team. I was kind of rooting for them in this game. And the reason I said that, right? And the reason I said that is because they looked like they were going to play a lot of compositions. And I liked the six-man rush they came out with on Garden. I really liked it. I like the Pharah variant to counter the slow brawl on Control Center. Here they're just going to run a standard brawl, but instead of the Cowboy, they're going to run the Hunter. This tells me they're going to want to poke a little bit more. They might not go for like your standard like choke. They might just wait and play around this hotel and then go for a wall because they're playing the Hunter. They want to play from a further distance. TET Cosmos, this is different. This is what I think in EU. I think they call it. They don't call it the bulldozer in EU. The screwdriver is what they call it in EU. So this is double main tank, and this is extremely aggressive. This is the most aggressive form of rush or brawl in the game, and all you're going to be doing is you're going to get up close and personal. You're going with both of your main tanks, because both main tanks are really good at engaging, which means you have a lot of offensive pressure.
Yeah, I think it's more interesting to see this Hanzo. They do have sights around, but look at this rotation. They are going to be finding Fan a bit out of position, not going to be able to get that immortality, and it's going to be a little harder to try to move in, while we see Cosmos being able to dive in on the back line, and everyone else be able to control the front line. And honestly, that's a pretty impressive first take.
That was an awesome team fight. Now, Houston Heal Slugs, they have a lot of options here. So, 2 Easy Cosmos, their initial engagement is always going to be really, really impressive, right? Because you've got 2 main tanks. The initial job, what does the main tank do? It engages. That's the categorization of a main tank, right? You have 2 of them. But Houston Heal Slugs need to realize 2 Easy Cosmos is going to get a lot of resources in at once. They could just run away.
Oh,
if they run away from that initial engagement and come back in, they could just win.
It's like a Tom and Jerry episode. The monkey has to jump in combined with the Doomfist hoping to do anything. But the immortality's there, so they're perfectly safe. And the rest of the team of Cosmos who are walking in, trying to peel in, trying to help out for the team, well, they're slowly being killed. They're now walled off, unable to escape. They do manage to find K-Mac, and eventually they continue to find the rest of the targets that just don't, I guess, have the peel or anything to kind of escape.
Okay, Carlos, get out here. Get out here. Okay, I think they're gonna back up. Now, that was a lot better from Heal Slugs. They actually won like half a team fight there and built up some of their ultimates because the initial engagement came for 2 Easy Cosmos and they had nowhere to go because Houston Heal Slugs just ran away. That's actually how you beat this composition. You would think usually in the Rush versus Rush or the Brawl versus Brawl, you want to play the more aggressive team, but here you want to invite the resources, you want to invite them to engage, run away, and then come back in with your resources.
Yeah, I've got to say, right now they are just being able to move forward, although they are going to be losing just very early on because this Blizzard has secured them any kind of safe ability, especially with that window. They now have stopped any form of a snowball. They can set up and say, hey, how do we want to play against this?
Well, this is cool because Blizzard is actually a really good ultimate because the fights are going to be happening at a really fast pace for a bit. But what happens after the fight kind of ends at fast pace? It goes to a much slower pace, and that's where Blizzard is going to get a lot of value. I always said that on broadcast, and that is where Chef is going to have a lot of fun. The problem is you don't have to deal with the death blossoms, so Cuddles and Thick are going to be in a lot of trouble.
Yep, just look, hitting it with that damage and the massive shatter. The immortality, though, is just well enough to be able to defend. The Salamander does manage to save them out, but not bankroll well enough as the Blossom immediately gets punished. Once it gets popped, it does seem like Cosmos have some form of advantage, but the bomb is placed as a kind of a counterweight. The Doomfist now stuck inside the enemy's opposition with no form of escape. It does manage to kind of jump right back in, looking for any type of pick, and Fan is gone, has no heal, has no defense. The rest of Cosmos are going to be able to kind of move forward.
Yeah. I mean, what I kind of was trying to say, you're kind of relying on Thick and Cuddles to deal with that. That boss, they kind of did, and that's why Aspage is going over to the Boy. They also have a sun barrier out there. Oh, jeez, they could go in early with that.
Yep, look at this. They managed to get a nice short rally. Beautiful, knocks the Reinhardt down. Combined with the sound barrier, they're feeling perfectly fine. That window may be nice, maybe up front, but it's gone, and you're not being able to kind of defend yourself. I've only ever seen that type of charge used when it's against a Zenyatta. Oh my goodness.
I've got something to show you, man. I did that. I got a double kill with that sort of pin before. That was awesome. I need to get that highlight. One of the coolest things I've ever done. Anyways, this next team fight, 2 Easy Cosmos, they have an Admetrix, so at the start of the fight, they'll have a massive advantage because they've got 2 main tanks to be extremely oppressive, and add an Admetrix to that, right? That is going to be really difficult to deal with. The problem is, if they don't win that initial game, if they don't win the team fight fast, they have to deal with a Deadeye, a Blizzard, and a Heal Slugs team with a lot of resources.
Yeah, now when you're moving in on to the third point, that window gets used, but the Blizzard is kind of a counteractive combined with the High Noon. There's just really nothing you can do against it. But those are 2 really big ultimates to try to play against this, and even then, look at this, Microfan's able to get 2 picks, so now your respawns are still going to take a couple seconds.
Yep, that's still things down now. Like Heal Slugs want to slow things down. They're going to have an Matrix this time around, so they're going to use that early. And I think TZ Cosmos, they're pretty well prepped to deal with that, because even with the Diva, they can kind of just walk past it and maybe get a Deadeye of their own. That's something they like to do. And let's see what happens with this Matrix.
Yep, they're now moving in. They've used a speed boost High Noon, trying to find much, and I don't know where Jesse came from, but they managed to find that charge out and hit the May. Now the entirety of Houston Heal Slugs are going to be struggling to try to find any form of a solid force because their team is now split. The shatter gets used and does unfortunately miss, and that bomb manages to really only find the Lucio. It's really close to the ultimate, but this is giving Houston Heal Slugs just enough room to kind of win back this fight.
you can kind of tell that Houston Heelsets aren't confident. Like, they're making the right decisions, and they're definitely actually kind of quite good at Brawl, but they're not as confident on it, if you know what I mean. Like they're not making plays that they probably would have made in the last round. That's a weird place to say that, because they just had a really good team fight. They would block the Earth Shadow, then get a really awesome self-destruct and get back into things, and now they also have a lot of their ultimates online. In the next 2 team fights, they're going to have pretty much everything. Look here, I'm hiding.
Oh, man, it just hit that shatter. I mean, the Emor is just perfect. Kind of combined on it manages to find out your Baptiste, and everyone on your team is taking too much damage.
Yeah, they win that team fight pretty well. Like, that was pretty awesome. It was a really nice Deadeye, it was a really nice Shatter, it was really nice eating the Dragon Strike. And honestly, we talked about snowballs earlier. King's Row is probably actually the snowballiest map in the game, offensively and defensively. I think, you know, because it's King's Row, it's a little bit better designed. The snowball can actually be quite fun to do here. Now, like these deals, they're going to be building up their ultimates a lot faster, and they have an outmatrix to work with here.
Yep, they use the main walls as a kind of driving force, but the Blizzard is really what's kind of they're relying on. Shuts down any form of use on that window, and they're just being able to shut everyone down on the side of Cosmos. Gotta say, I'm loving this new attitude with how they're taking these engagements.
So why is King's Row such a snowball map? It's because of the corner. There's so many corners on this map to play on. If you're on the offense and you win a team fight, you can take control of those corners. If you're on the defense and you win a team fight, you can take control of those corners. And map positioning and actually playing around the map geometry here is going to be important. The problem is Heelsets don't have any ultimates yet. They used a lot of them in their last fight, and as it's building up to a Bob Mako fan, they are building up to a Blizzard. Those DPS ultimates could be quite difficult to deal with.
Yep. Although the Bob is kind of a really nice usage, it slows them down. The Blizzard manages to find them out, and honestly, Heal Slugs are not going to be able to kind of come back from this. The Bob is really going to get that play of the game as well, but they have to throw themselves on the point if they want any type of stall.
So Heelsets are going to get another team fight. They're going to have a self-destruct and Deadeye as well. One's going to create space, one's going to have to get kills to go Shatter. The problem is, are they going to be able to get out and touch the Matrix and self-destruct to deal for the other side as well?
Oh no, that bomb was solo used on Bankroll with the High Noon. And they're getting a lot of consistent focus fire, especially with that window on top of the payload. The damage is just there. At this point, if you're Heal Slugs, you want to lower this down to 0 seconds, but it's just not enough, as you manage to just get it down to around 21 seconds. So honestly, as long as you manage to kind of bring yourselves back at a higher timing, it's perfectly fine.
Just quick self-cast of overview there. I kind of made a mistake there talking about Heelsets getting out, because if they got out, yeah, my point would have been brilliant, because they had a lot of ultimates to get back out. But realistically, if I made a better selection, I would have talked about TZ Cosmos stopping them from getting out, because they had an Up Matrix that had self-destruct on their own, 2 really good zoning ultimates, and Heelsets were under pressure to get out on that team fight. TZ Cosmos did a great job there. 21 seconds on the clock, they get a time bank, which is extremely important. Why is that extremely important? It means no matter what happens in this Heal Slugs attack, TZ Cosmos, if Heal Slugs capture all 3 points, will get to attack again.
Yeah, but honestly, I want you to kind of give more... I want you to kind of explain things to me, because I think we both agree that Houston aren't looking as good when it comes to the Sprotty Cosmos. They're running it pretty well. They know what they need to do. So I think Houston, if they run out with some form of variation, especially with this Sigma, what are they relying on to kind of win these fights out?
Well, so Sigma has a lot more burst damage. So initially at the start of the fight, when you're doing a lot of poke damage, Sigma could get a player low. And you can kind of get a pick off that, or you have an easier decision on what target to go. Sigma also can kind of take Baptiste out of the fight, for example, or the Cowboy as well. It's probably better taking Baptiste out of the fight than they are the Cowboy. Diva's probably better at that. I think they are going to go back to Diva. No, I think there might be changes. Maybe Sigma. Yeah, Sigma. So I think they're going to try and nullify Misfit and what value they're getting. Additionally, at the start of the fight, they're going to look to get a lot of burst damage and a lot of poke damage.
Yeah, I think the Sigma switch and the Hanzo switch, while interesting, may work out in their favor. They're not going to be winning the direct brawl, so I think switching it up make them feel confused, and it works out, especially with them taking over this high ground. We see as Cosmos want to be able to play back. They want to take over their own corner. Honestly, it's like playing a very aggressive poke.
Yeah, it is. It can brawl, but it can also poke for range, and it's better at poking for range than the 2 easy Cosmos numbers.
Now look at that, the main wall's gonna help them look out for the Reinhardt, but this is where the pure brawl comes in. Looks like Vanish is not gonna be able to get that counter out, while Cosmos, they have the immortality, they're feeling perfectly safe, and they're just able to kind of win slowly out this brawl as the rest of Heal Slugs, they're slowly gonna be staggered and slowly just trying to escape.
Yeah, let's slow things down here and talk about where the ultimates or both teams have their Matrix online, but Ecofan, they will have their Blizzard online shortly before Chef, so they can use this early.
Yep, look at this, using that window combined with the Blizzard. It's a bit of counter usage, or at least what they're trying to find. The Heal Slugs, they are going to be losing the majority of the two major teams, while we see Micro struggling to kill out Baker for a tiny bit.
Do you know what? I really like the Blizzard's icon and the kill feed because it kind of looks like one big massive cookie. So I quite enjoy that. And he also, honestly, I think they know what what they need to do with their composition. They need to poke out a little bit more before they take the brawl, and they know that, and they will have the ultimate advantage in this next team fight. But I also feel that the other composition, the standard brawl, is a better composition because Sigma can just take away those Hanzo arrows, take away some of that spam that Sigma doing.
Yeah, and now this is where it's going to come into the fight, because that Gravitic Flux goes high in the sky. Imagine the Lucio, who sound barriers themselves, unfortunately, and the Dragons do an amazing job of picking everyone up off. So while that bomb tries to kind of pick anyone who was just kind of out of position, unfortunately it's not going to catch them, and it seems that Heal Slugs finally found their opportunity to win out on this point.
I'm not gonna lie, right? When it comes to ultimates, though, I think Sigma's ultimate, I think we can all agree, is a lot better than D.Va's. So maybe, like in the long term, you can get some more win conditions with the Sigma. Additionally, the Hanzo ultimate on a linear map like King's Row, you might be a little bit more comfortable getting advantages out of that, potentially winning team fights out of it. But I'm still a bigger fan of the standard brawl composition. But I can kind of understand why you might want to play the other way.
I've gotta say, I've had nightmares, you know. And that was the biggest walking demon I've ever seen.
Yeah, I'm not sure why they went for that. So I mean, it was fun. I enjoyed it, right? I enjoyed the attempt, but I think that was a little over aggressive, or no, not necessarily aggressive. It just. This is a little bit silly from J. fan. I think that's the best word to use. Yeah. Now they have to walk into a Blizzard. I think what they can do, since they're running the poke variant, is they can actually slow things down a bit, potentially build up the Dragon Strike and get space with that.
Oh, but, I mean, they don't really have to use anything. We even see Sorish use out that Shatter to kind of solidify more of a victory, but the window did more than what you needed.
Yeah, I mean, that Matrix with the Fire Strike combo. And I got too easy. Used the Heal Slugs off guard because they used there first. I don't think they expected them to have a matching window, which they did. I mean, usually you would expect if you have window, they have window. That's just kind of the scenario. Maybe they made a mistake in tracking. But to be fair, now both teams have their Blizzard. Banquo can use the Dragon Strike for a bit of space.
Yep, they may wall them off, and they use the Dragons to split. It forces out the immortality, and now they combine with their. Wait, the Blizzard gets Ian! That's absolutely devastating. They have to rely on the Gravitic Flux to save them, especially with the sound barrier, because the Noon is able to kill out their Sigma, and now they're struggling just to stay alive from the after effects, while we see Hags just kind of get in some damage. They did lose the Reinhardt on the side of Kaz, which is going to be a bigger issue. However, combined with the sound barrier, they're able to put pressure onto Fan. They want to try to kill that Reinhardt so they can be sustained, but it's just not enough. That window is going to do immense amount of damage, force them out, and now Cosmos gets rooms to breathe, and using that window as well.
Yeah, I think it's just a little bit of time to talk a little bit of space, but now Banquo has another Dragon Strike.
Oh, that's not looking good. They split them off. I mean, and they do get the Maywall out, and the jumping Shatter that manages to hit. The bomb goes high in the sky, looking to make anything, but it's just not enough. The counterpin may be helping to their favor, but it's a bit of a struggle, especially with Microfan using the Blizzard, stopping anyone from Houston to be able to walk in and peel for their team.
I have never seen a part of that tunnel before. I think this could be able to stagger on the cave. Oh no. This isn't good.
I mean,
this is really bad. Okay, they're gonna end this stagger now. That could have been a longer stagger. That could have been even more. That could have been even more brutal. In this next team fight, how did Heal Slugs get back into this? Honestly, I don't like to lie. I have no clue. I mean, maybe if they get like a nice Matrix Fire Strike, that could help them, but they don't have any options. And also, they have made a switch over to the D, which means this is a little bit easier to deal with. This flanking Deadeye, they will have to deal with that.
Yeah, I gotta say, I'm an optimist. Flat out, you know, I'm looking for the benefits of this, but now they're rocking at a slow start. They do manage to miss out on that shadow really when it hits the Mei, and the window combination shuts you down before anything. This is where you try to use the high and you just kill anyone, but they manage to wall you up. They manage to just ignore you, push forward to get these picks, and still, they're in an overtime type of scenario where they really need to start touching this point, but I think Cosmos did an amazing job of just trying to stall this out, because now it's going to be harder to cap with I think, over a minute.
Let's talk about this. Halo Slugs, a fight they were at a severe disadvantage at. They do get the cap and they do move to point C. Similar time bank to what 2 Easy Cosmos were on. Both teams have Blizzard. I think those are the ultimates to watch, but also watch the Soundbearers. Cuddles is going to have hers online earlier to potentially deal with that Blizzard.
Yeah, I like this high-noon quick initiation with the Soundbearer, but the Blizzard is trying to play a counterpart. If they can't get anything off, it's going to hurt, but they do almost get the Reinhardt, although it's just not enough, even walling off the Mei just to be able to focus you down. You're not going to be able to capture with a minute, but what you're looking for is a snowball right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, you got TC Cosmos' block right. Their main linkage. He's well Soundbarrier for this last fight. The difference maker is that self-destruct, right? That can give a lot of space for the Halo fans.
Yeah, I like that bomb going out. Doesn't find, but forces the M-ward. They get the creep. This is where the defensive ultimates come out for the Cosmos. Using that sound barrier just to be able to peel in, trying to make anything happen. This is a last fight type of scenario, and they've lost out their Reinhardt. It is going to be a further issue, but it seems that they may have another one if they rush fast enough.
Can they get out? To lose Chef, they're in a lot of trouble. This is going to be critical here. Can they get their way out? No! Oh, it's going to be difficult. Can they get another team fight? If they do, they're going to be at Matrix as an engagement tool. No, they can't.
Oh, this is no team fight.
Oh no, their Cowboys dying. Maybe they go at 5v6. They go at 5v6 with this Amp Matrix.
Ocean, I've been delusional before, and I think you're spitting Ocean gang. Because listen here, they're moving out. They get hit with that shatter once the window gets popped, and now your front line's gone. The Lucio isn't even there to kind of speed you back. You're relying on the Doomfist and Tracer to try to do as much as they can, but your team has now lost their mech. They now no looking like that. And honestly, I've got to say, Easy Cosmos, they just look better. They just look cleaner, because when it comes to the brawl, they understand their condition. They've been using that Bob just to say, hey, you can try to touch, but we have 7v6. As we now see it end in a 1-to-1 series, as we see 2 Easy Cosmos finishing out on King's Row.
Now we have to ask the question of, how did they lose that fight? They got rid of the immortality field. They got the first kill. Did Easy Cosmos just somehow build up to the rest of their ultimates? Like, they were 90 on a lot of them, I know. I mean, this happened, this move did a lot for them. And then the self-destruct? Yeah. I think they just got a lot of their ultimates, and that move was awesome.
Yeah, honestly, I think the major issue that came into that last fight was more of Houston breaking under the pressure. They had a lot of good opportunities there, but the Reinhardt got a shatter, went in, and they couldn't really follow up on it. Everyone was trying to focus out different targets, and the sound barrier plus window was just enough of a defensive kind of security to where they felt fine. They were able to get that initial pick, and then that kind of rolled them in. I think if Houston managed to kind of not stagger themselves out, unfortunately enough, they would have been fine to maybe take that fight and could have had it. But honestly, there's only a Ryan comparison to really show what made a true difference when it came to these, like, crucial moments. Because look at this. Jessica has not only 2k more damage, 5k more damage blocked, a bunch more of eliminations, but they have 2 more ults used. They're getting a lot more value on the Reinhardt.
I'm gonna look at all of these stats. I think the only negative stat for Jessica here is she has a lot more damage blocked. I think I prefer it when my Reinhardt doesn't have that much damage blocked. But the rest of the stats, look at them. 2 more ultimates used, 9 more offensive assists, getting more value out of the Earth Shatter. Look at the final blows. Like, more than double the final blows of Jaikaru fan. And 39 eliminations. That's insane. But let's talk about why this might be happening. Jaikaru fan says they're a Winston player. Their name is Jaikaru fan. You should know they're going to be more comfortable in Winston or the Wrecking Ball. Jaikaru is, of course, most well known, I think, for their time on Fusion University this year. And I think they just won Trick Winston in comp. They're one of the best Western main tanks outside of Overwatch League, and they like to play a lot of Winston. So Jaikaru fan is obviously a fan of Jaikaru and wants to play the Winston a lot more.
Yeah, I mean, living up to your idols is a good kind of aspiration and kind of way that you want to be able to peak up, but you need to be getting, I think, a tiny bit more when it out of the Reinhardt, because at least when it comes down to the equal things, it's exactly as you said when it comes to Brawl. It's up to the Reinhardt who makes these differences, and I definitely feel like Jessa was able to kind of make those, like, big play moments just by being alive or just by being able to hit one more shatter, one more damage blocked.
Oh no, Jessa played really well. I thought she was really good. I think that double fire strike for the Amp Matrix was a pretty critical play. I thought they were the more consistent Reinhardt player. I think their engagements were slightly better, particularly when they were running double main tank composition. I thought Jessa played really well that round, and so when you're playing Reinhardt in the double main tank, it's sometimes quite agitating because you get to swing around a lot. But then sometimes you're Winston stealing all the kills, and you're like, "Damn, I'm on the kill fear, or whatever." I mean, you won't be worrying about that, but you would also think, "Oh, my other tank's getting a lot more resources than I am." When you're the main tank, you're used to getting most of the resources, and that can be quite agitating at points. But Jessa played really well the entire round.
Yep, we still have so much Overwatch to see and play because it's 1-1. Anybody can continue going in, especially when we come back from this break. So make sure you stay tuned because you never know who's going to bring it out in the end.
Tonight I'll meet you in our favorite place. Just can't let this wait one more day. But I'm scared as hell, and there's just no way to know how this goes. And I can't help but say, trusting why you are so beautiful. But it might break me. It might break me, break me. It might break me, break me. It might break me down. I won't lay you down. But it might break me, break me. It might break me, break me. It might break me down. But it might break me. It might break me. It might break me.
your step. That's not a threat, no. My heart is a house of cards. They had those shaky hands, they let me fall apart. And I know it shows, yeah. You keep me on my toes, yeah. Just one more song, yeah, yeah. Play it till I'm gone. When I start sinking, all my demons start creeping in. When I start breaking, will you be waiting? Pick me up and put me back together again. See what I see, yeah, you could save me. Got me out of my mind, tongue-tied, hypnotized, but it feels alright. Just scared 'cause I want you. You brought me back to life. Now I'm terrified, and I know it shows, yeah. You keep me on my toes, yeah. Just one more song, yeah, yeah. Play it till I'm gone. When I start sinking, all my demons start creeping in. When I start breaking, will you be waiting? Pick me up and put me back together again. You see what I see, yeah, you could save me. You could save me.
Woo, I bet you weren't missing us at all, because you were more focused on who is possibly going to be winning when it comes to this match. You know, that was a little beat up on myself too. Ow, that hurt. But I'm feeling great because two Easy Cosmos and Houston Heel Slugs are still kind of rocking an easy road where they're sitting to themselves, what are we going to do? We did get a swap in Mist for J. Crew, and we're going straight over to Route 66 with the side swap. But with all that given said, Ocean, I want you to take over the floor.
Right, well, so we're going over to Route 66. This is the map pick of the Heel Slugs. They've made a change in their main tank. They're going to go for Mist, who tells us that they are a Wrecking Ball player. So I imagine that they're going to play Wrecking Ball, right? You know, so that means they play the Ball Diva Summer Tracer front, which is what they're flashing right now, which I'm excited for. I love a bit of a Zen break back line. I think Brigitte is my favorite main support because she allows, even more so than Mercy, she can set up other heroes extremely well. Like Tracer, like Sombra, like Zenyatta. And that's extremely awesome to me. So that's exactly what they're going to look to set up. On the defense here, two Easy Cosmos are running a nice double bubble setup. Another composition I am a massive fan of. I am a little bit worried for Silence. So Silence has the opportunity here to be extremely isolated by Sombra, Tracer, Wrecking Ball, and a Diva. This is not going to be fun for Silence, but composition is still a very good one.
Yep, as we're looking at them rocking out, I do really like how the Wrecking Ball is going to be able to play against them. I don't like how much damage Miss is initially taking, because now you have to take a bit more of a second to kind of re-engage in. Luckily though, Jessa does unfortunately kind of mess up for a tiny second, takes a lot of damage. But how do you see this engagement going? I think it's really relying on Miss, but Miss is taking so much damage before they can even engage in.
They need to set up their supports so their supports can do a little bit more. Cuddles gets taken out, and that's really not going to help them. That means there's a yacht at the back line. It's also going to be an easy target for the defense.
Yeah, yet they're able to take out the Tracer. We see Miss being able to dive on the high ground, get an amazing boop onto the Zarya, while Jess is just trying to be able to peel. They managed to do some good combinations, but I think Miss managing to get out the monkey is going to be a small factor in the next fight.
I think I saw this last night in a collegiate game over 66. So this backline was not able to get set up. The Houston Heels have a lot of options here. They can set up their Zen break on the top left. They can walk up there, and then the Zenyatta has better Discord angles. And they need to get their backline set up for that Discord, because then the rest of their team can get a lot more value.
Yeah, look at this. They're trying to set up and place the mines down, but it's really hard because they're so split. They do place on a high ground when the Nano Blade wants to be going out for the support, just barely able to it almost messes up on its value, but it manages to just barely find out and save this fight before any issue could happen. Although, the main thing we gotta worry about is the rallying brig on the side of Cosmos.
Yeah, so honestly, that's pretty okay. Yes, you got the three most important ultimates out realistically. You get the Nano Boost, which could go either on the Winston or the Genji out. You also get the Rally on, as well as the, of course, the Blade, right? Those are three of the major ultimates that are available. But Cuddles and K-Mike are not getting set up at all. They keep trying to go main, and they keep getting absolutely focused on. There's a lot more cover they can use, and like natural cover they could use. If they go to the high ground, it's also harder for heroes like Tracer to get onto that high ground, as well as Zarya. So I feel like that would be a better place for them to walk.
The Cosmos are taking an insane amount of damage while this fight is slowly starting. Silence almost even went down, and look at this, the mines that popped out last fight are being set up. Unfortunately though, they've lost to Zenyatta, which is gonna hurt, especially because you don't have the break to kind of help you in the long term. We're able to see as Jessa is just continuous, no matter the hero, no matter the tank, she's able to kind of find value on it and shut down this push.
So this is one of the things. If you want to play Zen Brig, to even get it to an okay level, you've got to be extremely talented and extremely good at it. And to get Zen Brig is worth it, right? Because if you get it right, it's the best backline in the game, it's the best composition in the game, full stop. The problem is they're not getting it set up. They're not getting their Zenyatta into the correct space, and it's just not good enough. They also lost their EMP in the previous fight, so realistically they're relying a lot on their supports right now.
Yeah, they managed to get a good bubble. The mines to force them off the high ground while the bomb splits them up. As well as Zarya gets hacked, so they can't even use the Graviton Surge to try to save this like they would do before. As well as, just unfortunately enough, Micro gets picked off while they have the Blade. That's just a little bit of an issue of not engaging fast enough. Miss, my goodness, the techs are insane.
Yeah, they're gonna win this team fight. Miss looks really comfortable in this Wrecking Ball. I think the rest of the team's being fine. I'm just worried about how they're getting backline space, and I think it is the backline's fault in this case. I give Cuddles a lot of credit this series, but she is not getting her Zenyatta into any sort of position where they can do damage and get better discords, and also the D.Va could be doing a better job of getting both of them into better space as well.
Yeah, luckily though, Houston have put themselves in a nice position to where they can continue fighting and trying to find anything. The rally though manages to peel in for Silence, who's taking an insane load of damage. Though they are putting the hacks on, denying them from being able to use this pulse bomb combination with anything, they just decided to eat it out. Unfortunately, it's gonna pull a Nene. They're not gonna be able to really hit anyone with it, force them kind of out for a tiny bit, and try to space things to find anyone. The biggest thing that they've got out of this entire push was Nick's mech. You may want to just have to reset, but even then, they use the Nano Blade. The Transcendence is able to peel out. Then the EMP is going to hit you last. It's just a little bit rude. The investments coming out from Houston, just not enough. Even the mine's placed, they can jump into it all they want, but Jessa is doing an amazing job of shutting it down, and really Houston just kind of threw a bunch of ults instead of a blind house.
I think you're gonna miss that EMP because you actually got all the ultimates out from Team Because I think there's all 6 in that fight. And now you would have had the EMP for this next team fight, you could have went with that and probably just won off that. And built up the rest of your ultimates when you won that team fight. The rest now, both teams practically have nothing. I mean, Bankroll might get up to a pulse bomb, and Skrillin might get up to a rally, and the rally is just gonna be a lot more impactful. So maybe Bangle needs to try and stick the B to mid to mid. Like maybe that's the only way to boost them.
Yeah, I definitely see what you mean, because now they have the bomb and they can really push it out, but they've lost their Zenyatta, and that's really bad, because now Cuddles is gone, they're not going to have a support line to be able to heal in, so it's not even worth it to try to even set up for this bomb, rather just build as much ult charge and leave while you can.
See, it's up to Cuddles and K-Mac to say, okay, hey, I want to take this space, I want to take this area of space, and it's up to Fixed Dwarf and Cuddles to get the Zenyatta into that space, right? That's what's going to have to go on here, but I don't think they're saying, hey, I want to go to this location. So what's Victor meant to do if they're just going to stand there with them 24/7? That's not going to work. You're not going to get maximum value of Zenyatta that way. Here comes the rally from Stolen.
Yeah, that pulse bomb combination hits the Zarya, hits the Ana, and that bomb manages to finish off the Tracer, just trying to help out on the team. 30 seconds on the clock, and it looks like Cosmos, they don't have much. They do have a reset in a possible second contest, but no Nano Blade, just the Nano.
Well, they're going to say the Bird, right? Okay, so they're going to capture point B off that. I don't really see a way too easy to get back into this. I mean, maybe if they take enough damage early on, they can build up the Nano Boost to go for a Nano Blade. Maybe that would make point B winnable, but I think they're going to give up on it. No, they're not. They're going to go in 9.
Yeah, this is where they want to have the engagement. This blade comes out, but the Transcendence is just fast enough to be able to peel in. As well as Micro just gets focused down. You're not even able to play anything. That's going on a top 10 reel. Now we see Justin trying to help out, managing to juggle out when it comes to the Zenyatta. But the EMP was more than enough to take out the majority of their abilities, health. And now in this overtime scenario, they are able to win it and push themselves to the 3rd point.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still a little bit worried about how the EMPs are going for the Houston Heroes and their support positioning, but I think the important thing is, based on this wrecking balls came in and made a difference. And Jakar had a per performance in the last map, a great performance on map 1. But Mist has been awesome on this wrecking ball. Mist has got a lot of value, the power drives have been good, the engagements have been strong, Bankroll's got a lot of value, the Tracers since Mist came into the lineup. So, you know what? They're still okay on this map.
Hey, yeah, it still works out. They've been taking a lot of time to set up, but I think that's what they're really working on. They use the Nano for Jester to walk in, but Jester takes so much damage as it already was. They're not able to live, and it hurts more in the long run, especially with Micro being hacked. This is not looking good. They have the grab as a defensive ability if they want to, but I think they want to use that more aggressive.
Oh, they could kill Silence here. Silence is the grab. Never mind, Silence is going to stay alive, but then get an anti onto the Wrecking Ball. The Wrecking Ball can't receive healing right now, so maybe, just maybe, they're potentially going to kill one of the Mist if the cheese and Cosmos.
Yep, we see that dive. It gets shut down. Mist can't do much. The High Noon is a good defensive ability. Wanting to find anyone out, but the Transcendence manages to heal them. The Graviton Surge is not going to be able to kind of find any value, while the rest of the team, they're relying on that rally. They managed to build things up, and Cuddles is pushing forward, but the Mines on the side of Mist, they're absolutely massive. Anyone trying to do anything is just going to be hit and killed, as Microfan proves my point. But everyone else who just wants to come in, try to touch that point, they're being focused out, they're being poked. The last person to be there is going to be the Diva and Monkey, who are trying their best, but the Primal Rage really comes out a second too late, as it has to jump on point. They take way too much damage. The D-Mech is there. Silent, well, it's an overtime type of scenario. Even the Brig is going to be trying to do their best, but honestly, bad hero, bad player, not player, blah, 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 blah. As we see them just try to do their best, and honestly, we're going to be seeing Houston Heal Slugs manage to win it out. I meant only a bad hero.
You say bad? You just call Cuddles bad? That's my job. Alright, come on. You can't do that. Cuddles did play pretty poorly until point C. Right? I mean, if you were gonna call them bad, you call them bad on point B and A. But C, they did fine. The Zen got a lot more space. The Brigitte got a lot more value. I'm not having that from you, user. That's bullying. That's not nice.
You know what, you're right. I gotta go apologize. I gotta make my sad YouTuber like sigh apology. But either way,
I can see you doing that. I can see you doing that. I can see your face on one of those videos.
I definitely could. I've done a lot of things. Either way, I've got to say, I'm more astonished with how Houston have been kind of recovering from these mid to late fights to kind of bring them to capturing 3rd points. Honestly, I didn't really expect them to get it. I thought Cosmos had an amazing hand down onto it, but it seemed that when the time got close, when everything was really mattering, they started to lessen down.
Well, this is interesting. Too easy Cosmos have decided, yeah, we're going to go in the Wrecking Ball as well. I think the reason is Silence. Although actually I was quite impressed with Silence, the fact that they didn't die that much because they're applying the Zarya there, and it was really easy for them to get isolated. Their positioning was quite good to make sure that it was quite difficult for them to be approached by a Tracer, Wrecking Ball, etc. Like, whatever. So they're making the adjustments. I think they were going to go on the Sigma because, okay, you know, Sigma Ball, they might be a little bit more comfortable in that. They're also going to run the Genji for Nano Blade. Genji likes to poke, Sigma likes to poke. Then they're like, oh, I could also still get isolated on Sigma. Better go Diva.
Yeah, it seems this is going to be a similar kind of mirror, but I'm more worried about Microman being onto this Genji. Already look how the initial poke comes out. I think while the Genji could be really good with synergizing with this Tracer, the Sombra is such an annoying hero that I'm worried Microfan can get any value, especially with Mist being able to dive in and just freely escape as they want to. While we look at Saurus, immediately gets Discord, gets hacked, can't really walk away, and then gets punished for it.
Yeah, it's just a Saurus. No, I mean, this is interesting because you have to play Wrecking Ball into Sombra. I mean, because the Winston, I mean, yeah, you could run it. I mean, I suppose you could run like a standard Winston competition, right? You could do that, and I think that might be a little bit better. I think now it feels like, no, okay, they're running Ball, we're on the defense, we can play a little slower, we can wait for that Ball to engage, get a hacked up, we can also do that on the Genji as well, so maybe that's how they're going to play it. They're also close to EMP.
Unfortunately, though, they lost their Tracer, so it's going to be harder for them to get much value out of the dive. Luckily, though, Mist does kind of over-invest, and the Pulse Bomb gets in, but the EMP manages to find out the targets that matter the most. You can't even use the Nano to try to save your Monkey. Although time ends up wasting because you manage to save things up, you pop that blade. You don't even need the Nano, yet you still invested as a form of security.
It got dash!
Although it is not going to get as much value as you really wanted to, but you force everybody on the side of Houston back.
Yeah, Jet Source is going to go to the Winston. Oh, that Nano! It was it left a lot to be desired because Genji didn't have dash anything out of that blade.
Yeah, and now when they're playing on this point and the mines are kind of stopping anyone from touching, that really big ultimate, which they really could have used right now, is going to bite them in the leg because they can't fight back in this. They're at a disadvantage. They do have Rally to kind of recontest back into this, but they spent 2 minutes and they're switching over to the Moira, so now it's going to hurt more to play the Genji.
So there's a massive spider, like, close. I don't want to.
No, there's no Widow in the game.
No, like there's a spider near me.
Oh!
Right, you know,
Yeah, good
it's
luck,
like
good
a
luck.
scary spider. Yeah, so it looks like TC Cosmos, they don't like this anymore. They're gonna stick to Genji anyways, because they're probably practice a lot of Genji on this map. They run on both attack and defense, but the rest of it is kind of a 6-man composition. And they can get caught on rotation, and there's an EMP to deal with.
Oh, that's going to be really hard to try to worry about because now you have a lot to focus on. And Jessa almost dies, just barely gets that peel, builds up this Primal Rage, and they kill off Micro, but Cuddles has gone in the favor. That EMP was absolutely massive, and May just barely, it doesn't try to save out the Zenyatta, but now they continue moving forward, trying to make any type of route. Jess is gone without that main tank. You're at a huge disadvantage, and there's still bankroll on the point when you see Microfans trying to come back. Everyone on the side of Cosmos are slowly being staggered, especially with that D.Va lastly being killed.
Yeah, and they built up to their rally, right? So, like, TC Cosmos want to get up close and personal. I mean, you can, like, you can say, like, 16 meters away, wherever the Winston can get the damage, but, like, look. Oh, that's not good. That's really not good. That means you can build up to your own EMP. And also, like, right, okay, think about how armor works in this game. It affects heroes like Sombra, Tracer, Wrecking Ball, Winston, everything, right? Like, this is really bad. Cuddles gets the rally off. Essentially, TC Cosmos, unless they have the best focus fire in the world, they don't win this team fight.
Yeah, I definitely have to see Houston have just everything set up. The timing is not in Cosmos' own favor. This is now where they want to move in, try to take anyone up, but they've lost their Sombra. The Pulse Bomb drops down in the middle of the... It gets eaten! I've got to say, that was a little bit more impressive, maybe not intentional, but hey, it still works. Now with the mines placed on top of them, they are going to be struggling as Miss is able to kind of finish them off. They get the rally as a last-second insurance. And honestly, Houston putting out a very impressive performance. Even look, just the Lucio there. He's going to walk into the mines and die. And we're going to be seeing Houston Heel Slugs manage to win out Route 66. Oh, wait, the Tracer still wants to contest. You're going to be forcing me to talk longer than I have to. And look at that, the Widow's now entered into the game. Got to worry about 2 different Texas fighters now. But even then, they're going to be able to kill one, and you're not going to be able to kill the other. Because now Houston Heel Slugs, they're going to be the ones to finish things out and win on Route 66.
I've lost track of this fight, and it's not going on.
You gotta bring down your house.
Maybe that spider went into the game, and that's what the Widowmaker was. That's what I'm gonna pretend it is, just for my own sanity, because I'm not exactly sure what this guy is. I'm good with honor. Like, I would never like kill a spider or like anything. I would never do that, or even a fly. But I'm a little bit concerned. I just don't want to like climb on my leg or anything. That would be weird.
Yeah,
Anyways,
yeah,
Houston Heel Slugs. on their map choice are now 2-1 up in this series, and now we'll see 2 Easy Cosmos' map pick. 2 Easy Cosmos, of course, won their last map pick of King's Row. I imagine they will want to pro, which tells me we're going to Hanamura, but we'll leave it for now. They also listed Hanamura as their favorite assault map or TCP map, so I suspect we're going there. But let's talk about that last map, because Mist comes into the lineup to play the Wrecking Ball. Mist looks really, really good, right? Mist actually looked really, really good as an individual. The rest of the team didn't get the most value until later in the round. Once point C happened, Cuddles and Kaimak got a lot more value, which respect to them. You know, they adapted their play style and got a lot more value out of the heroes that they were struggling to play earlier on. But also TC Cosmos, what was the Genji about, right? They won as a Nano Blade a lot, and I think they won 2 team fights off that Nano Blade, like 2.
Yeah.
And like, what? That was a 10-12 minute map? Not good enough.
Yeah, I think Nanoblades are very heavily relied on kind of ult combo that a lot of teams tend to prefer to use, because a lot of DPS really like Genji. He's a fun mechanical hero, and you know, they practice, they watch Necros, they can be able to kind of hit it, bam, bam, bam. But the Wrecking Ball composition naturally not only plays against it, but if you're not getting it consistently like every fight, then it's really no point to kind of use it, especially when you're walking the Wrecking Ball composition and you're using that Genji Nanoblade, and they're basically playing a comp to where they're spread out and you can't even move. Just as we saw when they used that Nano very late and then they use that blade, everybody is so far away, they are perfectly fine and freely able to escape. And I've got to say, it was an impressive and amazing kind of performance coming out of the players on the side of Houston Heel Slugs to kind of go against it.
I thought Houston Heel Slugs did really, really well. I think 2 Easy Cosmos were also a little bit unfortunate that they came in on this composition and they're running Double Bubble. Double Bubble is still a pretty good composition right now. It's not as good as the Bold Diva, but it's also heavily countered by the Bold Diva, right? You can't really run the Zarya there against the Bold Diva at all. It's so easily to isolate that Zarya. I mean, Silence did a really good job positionally to not get isolated a lot, so credit to them, but you're just not going to get the value, right? So they were unfortunate to come up against that matchup on Route 66. And that really is really unlucky, to be honest. But yeah, that's unfortunate. But yeah, maybe they could have came up with some different ideas to not struggle against the ball composition there. Because Tracer, Somber Ball, Sandbrig, those sort of heroes together is really good on that map. So they have to be prepared for it in the future.
Similar to what we saw like in the rookie division, it just seems when a team is not able to play the composition that they want to run, they seem to struggle. And I think that may be an issue, or maybe that was just one side of it, because you are correct. We when kind of the map idea, we are going straight over to Hanamura, which I do agree is very much a brawl map, but don't count out the Wrecking Ball composition at all. I feel this still works like bread and butter.
No, Wrecking Ball is still really good, especially in the defense here. You can also run Orisa as well. Poke is still a nice variable that you can use, but I think Mist is getting subbed out back for Jaikari farm, which tells me that we're going to see Brawl versus Brawl or some sort of like double bubble defense from Heel Slugs this time around. But we'll see. I feel like Jaikari Brand is probably the more versatile main tank player, as he at least tried to play the Reinhardt when we went to King's Row, so maybe that's why Jaikari Brand is probably back in the lineup here. Heel Slugs, this isn't their map choice, right? Maybe they are going to play the Reinhardt again and do the Brawl versus Brawl, because TC Cosmos have obviously picked Hanamura here to go Brawl versus Brawl.
Hey, look on the bright side. You're going to be really happy, Ocean, because we do see Houston take on to the defense. So they are going to be setting themselves up a win condition. So this is either they know what they're doing and they're going to feel confident, or they're going to be like swept, which is like kind of a 50-50 on Hanamura, and then be very demoralized.
I have an idea. I think that Chef's going to play the Fora here. Because when we look at the Brawl compositions that 2 Easy have been playing, or 2 Easy Cosmos have been playing, they haven't really had the ability to go and rush at someone. They kind of just want to brawl and don't really have the ability to rush. And we saw this all the way back at the start of the series on Legion Control Center. Remember Chef brought the Fora on Control Center, a map that you don't typically see Fora on. But we saw a brawl composition that couldn't rush from 2 Easy Cosmos, and from there they won the run, and this is exactly what I was expecting. Chef is gonna play the Fora here, and is gonna try and deal with the slower brawl composition that 2 Easy likes to run. Jaikari Fan's gonna play from a little bit of a distance to try and poke. They will still have a sightline on the choke, and Bankroll is gonna try and take on any DPS that tries to oppose Chef on the farm. This composition was used by Shanghai Dragons and Gladiators in the Overwatch League playoffs for Hanamura on the defense. It's a pretty good composition. I like it. It has a pretty good mindset. The problem is if you let the TP get off and you let them brawl, then you can be a lot of trouble.
Yeah, I gotta say, I love what Houston is rocking out on. It's just such an impressive competition, especially against what Cosmos is running. Look at them take that teleporter, trying to do their best to get onto that point, but then the anti hits, and that is so powerful. They do fortunately get this tick. They're gonna be able to take some form of control, but they've lost their Orisa. Houston Heal Slugs don't really get the outlook that they've been waiting for. They've now lost his second tick, and I think this is going uncontested as they manage to find the third one.
Oh, they got the kills as well. They won the team fight. I think if Jakari fan was a little bit more patient in their approach, they get the touch one, and they also win the team fight. The question is now, do they stay on the 4 as the snowball tries to come through? I think you stay on it for one team fight, especially the defense, right, where your opponents have to walk into you. It's different on the offense where you have to go and take space on that 4 and you're potentially dealing with a Cowboy or a Nash. So yeah, I think they're going to stick on the 4 here. I think they're confident that this is what they want to run against the slower paced World Cup.
I definitely have to agree. I feel like the Pharah can have a lot of value here, but it looks like they're just going to teleport directly onto the point. They want to be going after everyone who's there. And then poor Ana, who just gets flash mobbed, but the anti was more than enough to shut them down. Combined with the Nano Pharah, they're pumping in so much damage that this barrage can be safe because the entire fight was just saved.
Wow, I think that Biotic Grenade is kind of what wins the fight because I don't know, because it was a really good fast engagement on Team Emma. You know, Pharah really doesn't get value when you're playing quick. So the Symmetric Teleporter was great because they were able to get onto a target, play past the Pharah and kind of ignore it. And you want to do that against the Pharah, especially nowadays when we're seeing rush compositions against Pharah instead of hit scans. So that was definitely a beneficial choice. It's just that the Biotic Grenade makes things really complicated for them. It was a good decision from 2EZ Cosmos, and I think they're kind of unfortunate that they got hit by the Biotic Grenade, but it happened, and they're gonna have to deal with it this time.
Yeah, they are now mostly setting up against this Pharah, and I'm more impressed that they are managing to stay up there and not be picked off. Unfortunately, they have put themselves in a very dangerous position where everyone wants to go after them. This spicy bankroll throw up the Bob as not only a defensive, but kind of distracts them away from the big issue that's popping right now. They use this window while the Pharah is being oppressed by the Symmetra, however, they're still not being able to play or find anyone. A lot of value resources are moving in, but it looks like the barrage just isn't enough as they use that wall. It's going to be very good for a defensive ability, and now they're at a 5v6. Though they managed to save themselves from that shatter, the Diva's now going to pop out their bomb. They don't really have much besides Ryan Shield to play against it, and it just seems that the McCree being on top of the high ground, now going on to the point, is going to be able to kind of oppress them around. Manages to get that first hit. Now the second one's getting dangerously close. There is a difficulty with what they're trying to do when it comes to the stall, and it honestly just isn't enough as they're able to cap it with 4 minutes and 8 seconds.
Right, okay, let's kind of talk about that, because the Pharah, of course, actually got a lot of value on point A, despite the fact that, like, it gets a lot of value in terms of what the hero did, but in terms of actually keeping the point alive, it didn't really do much. Like, Jakar fan was a little early on the engagement onto the point, and I think that maybe was what cost it, but also the Pharah on point B didn't get the advantage. Why did Pharah not work on point B defense for them, despite the fact that you're still playing against a brawl composition that Pharah is quite good against? Why? Because 2EZ Cosmos made some really, really good decisions to either zone out the Pharah or take the Pharah out of the game completely just by running onto the back line or running onto certain targets that are easier isolated. I thought 2EZ Cosmos played that line beautifully, and their time bank represents that.
Honestly, I think you say it best. I'm more interested to see how they want to try and play this defense. They're rocking out on the Doomfist, the very punchy character. And I won't lie to you, I love Doomfist. I don't know about Doomfist on Hanamura.
I mean, maybe they want to get like an early engagement, like with an uppercut or something, as they try to TP and then get picks off that. I think that would probably be what I'd see. That's why a couple of the players might hide here.
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
Yeah, they look like they just want to abuse that Sim TP, build some ult charge off of her first fight, which is honestly possibly the most biggest brain play I've ever seen.
Oh, I see what's happening. They're gonna try and bait them in and make it seem like an easy engagement, and then Mikofan, they are gonna come in here on the Doomfist.
Yeah, they take it early. They managed to find out the Baptiste a lot earlier than I expected, but it's a lot ruder because the entire team is now pushing in Houston Heal Slugs. They just got whiplash. I don't know what just happened.
I mean, I think I thought they were going to wait later for that engagement. I think they are now. They're going to like kind of like lick quadruple, and then they're going to snap. They're going to snap in and stop this teleporter from happening. JC Cosmos look really comfortable in this map.
Yeah, now look at this. Now this is where they're playing a lot more cautious. They even use the Maywalk extremely early, which is what they're gonna need. But this immediate speed boost in, they get a beautiful charge onto the May, so they can't even escape. And the Doofus in your backline, there is just so much to have to worry about that they're being poked and pressured. Although getting that Doofus is exactly what they needed, because now they don't have to worry about anyone punching them in the face.
Jessasaurus, she's also had a really good map, really aggressive. Her and Skrillin are doing a better job, Skrillin are doing a better job of setting the pace this map.
Yeah, I think that was an inspirational shatter. You managed to charge out the Diva, but that's gonna hurt. You have to get that immortality just to be able to peel, but it gets broken out, and it may have cost your team just to be able to kind of hold there because you kind of went for that. And you know, I understand the idea, but it's just not well enough alone, as your team is gonna be losing this first point.
That was a very optimistic and innovative Earth Shatter. I don't think it had a very high percentage chance of pulling it off, but if it gets pulled off, then they probably win the team fight off of it. So, is it worth it for 2AC Cosmos? I mean, yeah, but also lose the team fight. Now, Houston Heels, if they have the chance to snowball this, they have a Blizzard. So if the team fight slows down at a nice pace for them, they could get a Blizzard off. They have a lot of ultimates that can extend the team fight as well in case they lose a player early, but still have a small advantage like Sound Barrier and Self-Destruct. So Houston Heels looks like they have a chance to win this team fight, although it is quite unlikely based on 2CP and how the respawns work for the defense.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I like Doomfist seeing him more out, but they managed to bait for a tiny bit. Although Cosmos are struggling to kind of get some hold of the fight, especially with the Blizzard kind of being the majority of what they're being hit with. The High Noon tries to break through it, it's not enough. Sound Barrier is also there, so now they have full control over the point. And if there is no stall, they're gonna have a higher time bank comparatively to Cosmos. I think the respawns are somewhat in their favor, but it's depending on if they can do anything. They get that Sound Barrier just for the Diva to be able to walk out, and the Ryan's coming back with the Shatter, but it gets
nice
blocked.
block.
And now they have their own Shatter to kind of hit you with, and the wall, kind of the window, just trying to do as much as they can. But there's really not anything you can do. And we get that time bank lowered down, but they only have 9 seconds higher. And I gotta say, that's an amazing comeback coming from Houston.
Yeah, a lot better that round. That was a nice offense. On the first defense, the first point, I thought that was pretty awesome from TVC Cosmos. They had a lot of different setups that they liked using. And they got a lot of nice proactive engagements. And, you know, I love proactive play. Why is proactive play so effective? Well, proactive play means that you're always the one setting the pace and making the decisions. It also means your opponent is on the back foot. You can play a reactive play style in Overwatch. We've seen it work in the past, like when NYXL played an extremely reactive play style in Season 1 and got an awesome record. The problem is, I think it's kind of outgrown in Overwatch. I think you're much better off playing a proactive play style. And TVC Cosmos did that for a couple of rounds and then made a mistake, and Houston TL Slugs snowballed off of that and captured both points. That's sometimes what just happens on Assault, right? I thought TVC Cosmos were well set up for that round, have been well set up for this map. Just that one error kind of cost them. Now, on this defense, you'll actually see Heel Slugs running the exact same thing they did before. I wonder if Jakari fans can be a little bit more patient with their engagement on the point this time, or either Chef can maybe take a different angle than they did the previous time. They got kills the last time, but they weren't fast enough.
Yep, now this is where we see, can Houston pretty much learn from their big mistake coming from that last fight? I think running with the Doomfist, they want to run some adaptations. They want to try do something different. Look at that teleporter's going immediate on the point. They do manage to space it out, but they are losing so much of their shield. And even then, it gets broken. They have to take the rotation. I mean, it works well, but in a type of scenario where it's overtime, I don't think it works.
This is going to be slowed down now as TVC Cosmos. They're going to play TP from the back here. I don't know what they're going to plan here. They are hiding from the farm right now. The problem is, how do you deal with the damage when the teleporter happens?
Yeah, look, your Ryan's anti, you've lost your Symmetra, which is the main reason why you run out with it, and you're going to be struggling to try to take this over. Luckily, you find out their Ana and their Diva's mech, so they're going to have a bigger issue trying to win this out. I've got to say, for a very confusing kind of push, it's working out way better than I could have ever expected.
I actually didn't see that they TP'd on the Ana. I just saw a teleporter on point. They thought they were waiting for the Ana to be isolated, so they TP'd on the point when they saw an opportunity to kill the Ana. That was actually a well taken team fight from 2 Easy Cosmos. They showed an incredible ability to adapt against this Flora. To the point it might be worth running the Flora anymore for UC Tail Slugs, because 2 Easy Cosmos, they know how to play against it. They need to be they need to set up their team fight well, and once they engage, they need to get onto that backline fast, avoid the Flora at all costs, and play a fast team fight. The setup can be whatever it wants. The setup was beautiful from 2 Easy Cosmos.
Yep, they have every opportunity here to be able to win this out, especially with that window. And it's a matter of how you take it, because the longer this fight takes, they only have one. And if they manage to take it right now, maybe they have a second one, especially with a soldier who can possibly touch. But inside, they want to take that rotation. They use the window, but it seems that the side of Houston are going to ignore it. They're going to walk forward, try to find what an inspirational charge just to go directly onto the point and switch sides. You do manage to kind of find them out with not losing anyone from your team, and now you force them on. But the Doomfist is the one you have to worry about, because now they have their ultimate. They're going to look to slam down the high noon, trying to find as much as possible. It's just not even anything. So now we just see Cosmos. They're going to have to struggle and try to touch the point.
Yeah, I don't think they get another team fight. I mean, unless this bomb kills 6. Yeah, there's no real chance of Cosmos winning this team fight. There's a D.Va here on the Lucio. That was funny. I did not expect to see that D.Va dance around like that. Yeah, this is pretty much one for healers.
Oh, you never know. Never mind. They absolutely got so much value with that shatter. I mean, the wrecking balls there in the Soldier 76, you know, that was my idea. I was like, oh, they had a really big contest, really big ability to be able to kind of come back and do as much as they want. But Heal Slugs had every kind of ability to be able to win that. You only lose that if you throw it. So at least they built themselves a draw in winnable condition.
Yeah, okay, this is definitely winnable for Heal Slugs, but also 2 Easy Cosmos. Now, they kind of know Heal Slugs, so they need to tick on point C. They can they have a couple options here. They can play a composition on point A that has a better chance of full holding. They could do what they did last time and take loads of extremely aggressive fights and hope that they snowball their ultimates into a good point where they gather a lot of momentum, they have a lot of ultimates, and it's impossible for Houston Heal Slugs to win. And their other option is they kind of play a slower based competition, build up their ultimate slower, and they can play for a draw. Which would mean the series goes on, they actually get to pick the next map, and then essentially that's how that would work. Could they do that? Looking at the 2 Easy Cosmos composition, looks like that might be what they want to do. I mean, this composition is also very good on point A, but you're going to be waiting a little while to get the Bulb online and the Echo duplicate online. Maybe that's what they want to do. Play for a potential draw.
I mean, you build up a lot of ultimates. These are a lot of, like, big things, and I think the Sombra's an absolutely massive pick. I'm more impressed to see Cosmos wanting to run out on a similar thing. They don't want to run anything kind of bunkered down to maybe play against it. It's almost like they knew what Houston was going to try.
I mean, yeah, let's see. I think they're sending Sombra to scout for a bit. I don't know if they'll run immediately on this forum. I think 2 Easy Cosmos are well prepared to hit the forum. They've got very mobile competition. They've got Echo in the air, and of course they've also got an Ashe as well. They can deal with that Flora. So Chef's gonna have a hard time here, although Chef is pretty strong with this Flora and has a lot of natural cover to work with.
Yep, look at that. They're already playing around. The Echo is kind of a good natural counter, but the Ashe is really going to be struggling to do as much as they can. Remember, the hit scan nerfs are still in, and I'm forever going to talk about them as if they hit yesterday because I hate them so much. Look, as the Faras going in, looking to find as much as they can, but Cosmos, they managed to find out Bankroll. That's absolutely beautiful. For a minute, I was going to be a little worried in something, but they managed to find out the Sombra. I mean, you lose your Ana, so in the long run, that's going to hurt. But you have that first initial pick, and it's all about who else you can find. We do see these fights not really taken. They do stop the res before it's coming out, and they get the DMAC, but the Echo's able to take out Heal Slug's own Ana, so it's kind of going to be a weird hit. They still can kind of contest this, but I fully believe Houston won this point.
I think that was a really poor choice to go for the Reds. I think you could have played that team fight 5v5 and built up the rest of your ultimates. I guess maybe you could potentially come back here and win. Chef's running low, and you got the D-Mag.
Oh my goodness, this is not going to be looking good for Hue Slugs. They do have to use that Valk just to try to make anything happen. They put pressure to take out the Echo, but they've lost their Diva. They are building up to this barrage, which may be their saving grace, especially because they have the advantage when it comes to this fight. But look how much pressure is being put onto the Pharah. Luckily, they are going to be able to capture this. And also, a fun fact for the viewers, the Ashe Gen on the enemy side on Cosmos has played 9 heroes so far.
9? That's a lot of heroes. The problem is, taking that team fight with the res, right, instead of taking the 5v5, has now allowed Bankroll to get back into a team fight and build up an EMP, one of the best ultimates into the game, which means that you might not be able to use your ultimates this round, and this is now extremely winnable for the heal slugs.
Oh, you really gotta be praying you draw it out, but that EMP is absolutely massive, managing to hit the Pharah. Still has the barrage and has the Nano. It's gonna be looking to take out that Mercy, but they seem to have the Blue Light Jacker being able to escape. The barrage to take out that copy is not enough. They get DM'd and shut down. Now they are very close to be able to get this tick, and the mines are there. The bomb is what they're looking for, managing to find out the Mercy while their counter bomb is there, but they managed to escape it just perfectly. I still feel Houston Slugs are going to be able to come out if it wasn't for the fact that Jen was on the soldier. Managed to flip out your Sombra, and now you're struggling to do as much as you can. You have to get a tick. You have to do as much as you can, maybe win it back, but I feel like Cosmos, well, they have the respawns, they have the Valve, and honestly, they feel fine. This is a draw, and more than anything, they even get the res onto the Echo, so they still have a 6v6 or anything that they really want. Look at this, just having a good focus fire is really all you need. This may not be a map win for Cosmos, but it's not a win for Houston either, as we see a draw on Hanamura, and what a way to end it before Overwatch 2 come out, you know?
I've cast way too many draws on Hanamura in the past couple of days. I cast the Collegiate last night and we saw a draw on Hanamura. And that was a map 6 series. Hopefully it doesn't happen again. Here, next map will be a control map previously won by the Heal Studs. Earlier in the series we saw them take Lijiang. They were too easy. Cosmos going to pick whatever control map they would like, other than Lijiang Tower, which has already been played. Based on the fact that they like to play a lot of Brawl, the Heal Slugs, I would imagine Nepal, they also, sorry, not the Heal Slugs, the Heal Slugs don't like to play Brawl. I meant Cosmos. Cosmos love to play Brawl.
Yeah.
And they also have listed here their favorite control map is Nepal, so I imagine they'll go there.
Yeah, I gotta be honest with you. I feel you're not really looking to go on Nepal. I feel like Nepal is not a purely Brawl map. Like Village is 100% Brawl. But you can reliably and consistently walk out with that Wrecking Ball composition, which I feel Houston, especially when they put in their sub, they look good on.
Yeah, there's options, especially on Sanctum. Wrecking Ball is pretty good. Sigma compositions are pretty good on Sanctum as well. Like, there's a lot of options here, but what other maps are there, right? Busan, you can run majority Brawl on one of the points, potentially on Maccabee, so you can still run other options. There's Elios, which is the preferred map of the Hills, so you don't want to go there. What other ones are there? Oasis has University and Gardens. I mean, you could Brawl twice there.
I think what Oasis really is a flip of a coin. Who does it benefit the most? But we're going over to Nepal, which, once again, I still feel is a flip of a coin, but I feel Houston, they have the pure advantage of this.
Yeah, I think Cosmos listed Nepal as their favorite map because of Village. They do like to play Brawl there. And I guess you can get away with like a 6-man rush on Sanctum. And I guess you could also play Brawl on Shrine too. Like it's definitely there. You could definitely play it. Is it the right choice? Because to be fair, Heal Slugs can play a lot of compositions. You're not gonna get the perfect answer here. And realistically, Lijiang might have been the perfect answer for them, but Lijiang's already been taken by the Heal Slugs, so maybe it wasn't the perfect option. Maybe Heal Slugs, since they have a lot more flexibility, are just going to be better at control.
Yeah, and honestly, when it comes to control, we did start out with the Houston Heal Slugs being able to win it, but you know, I think it's mattering. I think Cosmos definitely have the momentum and the ability to kind of bring it forward. They're definitely going to be having a lot more energy. And so what are we really looking forward to? Because I know beforehand when we said Brawl v Brawl, it's definitely going to be in the main tank area. And I've got to be real, Cosmos' main tank has just been on fire. Jessa has just consistently been able to play every kind of tank that we've seen and do well on it. But when it comes to maps where it's really not relying on just one composition, what do you see happening or relying on?
I think what is another point is Skirlin on Cosmos likes to play the Lucio a lot. Right? Like I think they played a little bit of break on Route 66, but other than that, they've stayed pretty true to the Lucio. And I think Cuddles seems a little bit more comfortable to switch over to different main sports. That could help them on a variety of points. Since the next two maps, even if Cosmos win this map, we will go to another control map, which will be Helix's map pick. The fact that we have 2 more control maps, which is potentially 6 more maps of gameplay, so 6 more unique maps of gameplay, and the more flexible main support is on Hailslugs, that lends me to think they have a small advantage in the main support.
You know, that is something. That is something because basically it's just control. So it's either Houston Hailslugs wins this out and they say normal control, or Cosmos basically say you can go pick whatever control map you want. We will still try to beat you on it. And I think that's going to be kind of a really intense match with how they try to figure it out. But honestly, I think rather than main supports of what we're going to be worrying on, I think it's rather going to worry more on the flex DPS. I think they're going to be the ones we want to pay more attention to because there's a lot of flexibility and a lot of chances what you can run. Obviously, the Symmetra, May, Doomfist, Pharah, Echo, there's so much variety, and I feel like you have to get as much impact as possible, but you can't stay on kind of something that doesn't work, which I think, like, if you're running a Doomfist and, you know, it's on the well type of map, then you're not going to be doing as well, you know?
Yeah, and also if you want to talk about the flex DPS matchup, we can talk about Chef on the floor, because we see it earlier in the series when Cosmos were on a slower type of role with the Junkrat on Control Center. The floor got a lot of value because, well, they can't play fast, they can't rush as a role composition. But when we went to Hanamura and Chef played the floor, TAC Cosmos had the ability to rush onto backline, set up team fights well so that they could get onto the backline and just ignore the floor completely. So if we see that matchup again on Control, is who's going to get the advantage there? We've seen on Control previously Chef got the advantage with the Pharah pick against Cosmos, but also later on in the series, our most recent example of Brawl versus Pharah here in this matchup, Chef just didn't really get anything on Hanamura.
Yeah, but look at this. We're seeing how they're running out, and we're seeing their strategies. They are very closely running out in the mirror. But what you see right now, I feel like these are 2 of the same comps, but played very different.
Okay, so the Hailslugs composition and the Cosmos compositions right now are practically the same objective. The Cosmos team is a little bit safer with the pizza pick, right? They're gonna be able to play a little bit sturdier. This is in case you're playing against Wrecking Ball composition, for example. It's definitely got a little more options, but in this matchup in particular, to these comps versus comps, I think Hailslugs comp with a lot more burst damage on the Zenyatta and the Baptiste probably has a slight advantage.
Yeah, we do already see them set up. Even if Houston got there first, they are kind of still in this massive poke zone where I do think Silence is doing their job of eating the majority of the damage, but Houston are taking their room. They're able to kind of take their space. Eventually they get that D-Max, so now you can't even contest that point or try to take it over. It's whoever touches it first is going to take control. But the Torbjorns are having their fight. The Soldiers looking to put in that damage, but the double shield, it works out more than you ever could expect. If they get those first 2 initial picks into the Torbjorn, well, we see Chef managing to win out that fight.
Okay, so Hailslugs play that fight really well. They split their tanks off. They have their one on the off angle. They put their Sigma on point. Usually, I prefer if the Orisa kind of plays point and the Sigma is quite passive on that high ground poking. But they're going to do it the other way around. They're going to have their Orisa on the high ground, their Sigma on point, poking from the forward, which works better if Cosmos directly attack on the high ground.
But look, they lost their Orisa really early on. Luckily, their DPS are making up for it by getting out not only Chef, but Cuddles. Cuddles is your main person who's kind of keeping the team fight alive because of the healing and immortality. It's a really big factor. I do think the Orisa is doing a good job of being able to kind of stall this out, make sure they have some room. But Chef is coming back with a Molten Core. So even if you have a chance to throw your Bob out on the point or try to take any form of contestment, you're going to be hit with a lot. Look, as the moment they start walking in, you see it just pop the Bob, now stuck somewhere, I believe in the corner or off the map. I don't really know where it is exactly. It is going to be going down, however. We do see K-Mag using out that Transcendence, which perfectly saves them throughout any worry. That's a lot of ultimates used for one fight.
Yep. team fight one for the Houston Heels. Like both teams actually expended a lot of ultimates. Two easy Cosmos, they will have a molten core of their own, so maybe they can put some of the molten core on the point, some of it on the high ground, and then look to approach that way. But when you do approach, do you have anything else? I mean, no, they're actually going to go off the top as well. Genji, this seems like a panic swap. I don't know what their game plan is here, but they also have to deal with the Supercharger, a Flux, and this is not looking good for Cosmos.
I definitely agree. Look, so many ultimates on the side of Houston Heel Slugs. They take out the Wrecking Ball who wants to try to move, and you have no room basically to break. They are just pumping in not only so much damage, but so much sustain that they are perfectly fine to even use the Bongo where it reaches the Sigma. Although Microfan pulling in the Genji playstyle is going to be able to win that using the Gravitic Flux. They get hit with the Rock. That's just not looking great. You are at 99%, so you could really just give up this fight, but I'm thinking that they want to try to win it because the Sigma's still there. Looking to put in that pressure cap. The point does get recapped, so now this is where you see them starting to back up, but they get that damage in.
How did those two kills happen? Jessica's down and so does the Baptiste. Now it's go time for the Heels. If they can go in here quickly, they might have a free team fight win.
Yeah, look at this. Now they're going to be able to move forward. Now they're going to be able to feel great. The trance does slow it down. Skrillin is trying to give time for their team to come back, especially that Widowmaker. They have the Blade. The Gravitic Flux pops up. They want to try to finish anyone off, but there's not much you can do when the immortality is there. Unfortunately, they do lose out. Silence, and the boot comes, but look, Michael does have the Blade. Looking to finish them off. Managing to find out too, and the boot comes in, but the Torp turret is truly the MVP. They are looking to get that cap. That was a scary fight right there. Cosmos could have lost that in an instant.
Yeah, Heel Slugs, I think actually I made another goal. I'm going to have to go back and review this cast, right? You know, like, they kind of had to go in there, but they also need to realize, okay, but the ball is gone. They can't engage onto us. If we just kind of set up our supports, they can't stop them from getting set up. So when they come back into the fight, they've got to deal with supports that can spam, and that's going to be quite difficult. The problem is now for Team Cosmos, so they have to deal with so many ultimates coming online from Heel Slugs.
Yeah, but I think the mines were just well enough to be able to sustain them through. This is a fight where Heel Slugs probably feel happier losing.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, because you lose, like, they don't have the minefield now anymore, so it should be a pretty free rotation into the team fight. And look what you have. You have Attack Visor, which is going to have a little bit more space now because you've got Wrecking Ball. To create that space, Jack Hardban is going to make the swap over to the hero if you need to. You've got Descendants. What, this is 5 ultimates online for the Heel Slugs?
Well, it's a molten core to be able to run. It seems that they primarily want to use it to stop the Wrecking Ball to jump on them. Look how much damage Jessa takes, and eventually it's going to get shut down. Now combined with the visor, and no! Oh, you just look beautiful now, Bankroll. Honestly, your name looks great, and you have just secured your team the advantage when going on to the second point, because we're going to be seeing Houston Heel Slugs manage to win that one out.
That was awesome. Actually, that is actually super awesome. Let's talk about that play and kind of break it down. So the molten core, they put a lot of molten core kind of at their own feet. So Jessa and other members of GT Cosmos, aka the Tracer, Asphagen, and Mikofan on the Genji, they couldn't get closer either. So they put the molten core there at the feet. They also put some on the point just to be a little bit annoying. But this means that essentially their soldier and their Baptiste can shoot for this Matrix untouched. They can't go and approach them because of the molten core and the spam damage that they're going to get through the Matrix. It's impossible. Awesome team fight from Houston Heel Slugs. Awesome Matrix, awesome Attack Visor, awesome molten core. Really good use of those ultimates. Really well played from them. And now they're only 1 point away from victory. They're going to run the Fora here with the Wrecking Ball. So let's see if it works better here. Both teams on the ball compositions.
Yeah, I think whoever, it's up to the Echo versus Farah fight. I think that's really who's going to be doing much, but it seems that we see Chef 1 be going after the Mercy. They're trying to take each other out, but they're having extreme difficulty. Whoever takes control of the skies is going to be able to win that out. So when you lose Skrillin early, and you have no healing for your Echo, and then you get pressured out, Cosmos have no room to try to win this. You do lose out. They do lose out their Farah, but now your entire team is kind of at a major disadvantage. They are playing on point, and they look like they're getting kind of the advantage. They do manage to get the res, so hey, at least it's some familiarity, and they managed to finish out. Just seems like Houston Heel Slugs, well, they're going to be able to win this, having every advantage and a good amount of ult charge built for the Tracer.
I think this is the perfect way to end this series, to tell both of these teams running pretty much similar compositions. We're going to see the Pharah versus the Echo, we're going to see the Tracer versus the Tracer, Bull versus Bull. You get the picture already. One of the matchups I want to talk about right now is the Honor versus Honor matchup, because Misfit 60% to their ultimate. K-Mac already has that nano boost online.
Yeah, look at this. The Echo is being pressured out by Bankroll and is struggling to stay alive, although just barely, even with that direct hit. They managed to stay alive for a little bit longer than you truly could have expected. Now with this nano build, they do have a lot of room to engage, but Cosmos, they do the right thing. They stay back, they're giving space.
Yeah, of course, how ultimates work in this game is the more healing and damage you do. Of course, you also get passive regeneration, and your sub-ultimates cost a little bit more than others. The more damage and healing you do, the faster you build up to your ultimate. So that's how much K-Mac was doing in that first fight.
Yep, look, they use the nano onto the Pharah. They want to be able to build out the barrage, as well as, like, I'm pretty sure a direct hit is an instant kill. But the copy is beautiful, because you play that D.Va, and now you're trying to kill the Pharah. But you managed to get the Ana, which is good. But that barrage is now in a freeze set. You're using a lot of resources to shut it down, but it's just not worth it. You're even using the copy bomb to try to even get back to the point and try to win this out. You put a lot of damage onto Junko, and maybe this might be the turnaround, but you're going to be losing your Echo in this fight. Already dangerously low. The bomb finds out Bankroll, who jumped, and that's what causes them out. Now the counter bomb's going to be there. They're trying to finish it off, and look at that. Both of these Tracers don't know how to play against it. It's now at 76%, and Cosmos, they have to come up with a plan B.
Yeah, I mean, at least they have more ultimates in this next team fight. They could use a nano onto their own Echo, or maybe the Brigade to just become a little bit of space, or the Cowboy as well. So they have a nano that they can be pretty creative with, and they've got some mindful to maybe force the positioning of maybe Bankroll. The Tracer might be a little bit limited, and also K-Mac can maybe force them out of wherever they want to play.
Yep, they use that nano combined with the mines. They have taken over the point, and Van is struggling, but nobody touches! Nobody touches the point! Heal Slugs! They're gonna win 3-1! And I've gotta say, that is a very disappointing way to kind of finish this series.
It is, isn't it? It's a very GitGud way to end the series, isn't it? Alright? Yeah, when we cast GitGud, we're not really coming here for the passive gameplay. But you know what we get to watch? We get to watch this tag fighters are coming in for Bankroll through the app matrix. That was definitely the trollest play we saw so far today. And yeah, there's NA later on, we'll talk about that in a second. But congrats to Heal Slugs. I think they were definitely the more flexible team. So I think maybe off of that, that's what got them the victory. That's why they deserved the victory, probably because of their flexibility. So well done to them for that. They will move to a 3-0 record. Cosmos go to 2-1. They showed us a good fight on Hanamura, and also showed us a great brawl plays on King's Road. Jess did a good job on that map. But unfortunately, it all comes to nothing, as Houston Heal Slugs will take this 3-1, and go to a 3-0 record.
I mean, that's not get good. That's got bad. I'm down bad.
That's got bad.
Because all I wanted was someone to contest the point. Does that count as a C9? I don't know if it does. Because
I mean,
that hurts. So to give a second before I complain and scream and cry, I want to show some Pharah stats. Because, I mean, let's be real. The Pharah did absolutely so much throughout this fight. 10k damage. I mean, 3 deaths. That's absolutely amazing. You want to have as little deaths as possible. I mean, not a lot of eliminations, but the damage makes up for it.
I mean, Chef was always going to struggle to find kills on the map because of how much mobility the composition that Cosmos had was running. But honestly, just that they put so much resources into that Pharah. I mean, you actually look at stats here, there's more deaths than Final Blow. So they actually had a negative KD in that sort of sense, but that doesn't matter. The amount of resources that Chef was taking away from Cosmos, technically, because they wanted to do everything to kill that Pharah, and they couldn't, is very impressive, and we saw that throughout the map, and that's probably more telling than any of the stats we'll see today. That's how much resources they put in to try and kill Chef, and they couldn't do it.
Yeah, honestly, I think they put a lot of value onto that Pharah, because there was more often than not that the Pharah wasn't ever going to get low because the D.Va was being there, being able to kind of peel in, heal, and sustain them. And more often than not, they were putting more pressure onto the Mercy rather than the Echo, which gives them the ability to kind of take out that Echo a lot faster. And I think that's what helps Houston Heal Slugs win that out a lot easier. But I've got to say, Cosmos, they put in a really good fight. Except when it came to control. I think that's truly where we got to see them struggle to adaptability and kind of how flexible Houston were able to play in the Wrecking Ball comps.
Well, I think Houston were just the more flexible team by a lot. TC Cosmos were not very flexible, really. I think that's why they struggled on control points. You actually asked the question earlier, is that C9? I actually think yes, because that minefield on the point was their own. They had a nanoist, they definitely could have thrown it on a target and got a touch on the point. I would call that a shot.
Yeah, honestly, yeah. And if I had to just give small MVP vote,
Ooh, go on.
I want to be honest with you. I'm gonna either give it to Bankroll or I'm gonna give it to the Wrecking Ball. That was just
it's just there for one match.
Yeah, I think Fan was able to do so well. I mean, they were gone for one map, and I do think their substitution did absolutely amazing. Mist was really good, but I think J Crew was just so consistent.
You want to give it to J Kari, fan, not Mist. Yeah. I thought you wanted to give it to Mist.
No. No, I think Mist did great. If they had more playtime, maybe. I think they did absolutely amazing with the Wrecking Ball, but Fan was so consistent on every hero. I do think they were kind of the lesser when it came to the main take 1v1. I think Jessa was a lot better, but it came to team stability and how you played around it, and they just knew how to enable their main tank to just pop off.
I would give it to Bankroll. Just Bankroll I thought was consistent over the course of the series. On Tracer in particular, I really like the Tracer. The post bomb they got in Route 66 near the end of it, or near the end of point B, the double kill was awesome. I think the Soldier play at the end as well. I think those two plays were probably some of the coolest in their series. And I think I'd give Bankroll my MVP.
Honestly, I'll give it to Bankroll too. I'll switch mine up because I think Bankroll just was that clutch factor. Bankroll was absolutely insane throughout the entirety of it. And, honestly, Houston Heal Slugs, I think they do have a lot to work on, but they look absolutely great when they look great. Like, it was an absolute show to watch, and I think Cosmos, they don't got to feel too upset about this. You forced a draw, you managed to get a point, so if you would have won that, technically it would have been a map 5. I think you can consider this a pseudo map 5, but honestly, we're still at kind of the end of the streamway, so do you have any lasting comments or ideas?
Well, essentially, that's it for Get Good at You. There is Get Good NA later on. Of course, I think there's also Get Good, there's Get Good EU and NA on Sunday as well, but I believe Elo Hell is also partnered with the Will English Invitational for this weekend, which is happening EU and NA as well. So there's lots of Overwatch for you to watch this weekend.
Oh, you are 100% right. There is so much to stay tuned in. And honestly, if you want to hear all about this and who we're partnering, who we're helping, and what we're doing, I'd recommend following Elo Hell on the Twitter, because that's where we keep up to date. We make retweets, everything, and you can basically see when whatever's going to be happening. But when it does come to GGEU, we are done for today. Later today, there will be GGNA if you're interested to see more intense matches and kind of quick successions. It will be casted by Joker and Rudy TG, produced by amazing people and observed. It's a whole thing. But either way, if you want to stay up to date, you can hit that heart. It'll make sure you're followed. You can hit that bell. It'll make sure you're notified when the streams happen. And honestly, we thank you so much for everything, all the support. But this is the end for GGE. We will see you next week, or rather Sunday, when we come back.
How I try to sleep, but you're deep in my mind. Got a hold of me. When I'm awake, I'm all blind. You and your magic, like infinite power. God knows I try to resist, but you're pulling me closer. Oh, I gotta stay away, but you won't let me.